Chapter 624. The Black Horse caught up to Gu Shan and Lola. Seeing that, Gu Shan couldn't say anything else. The two of them and the horse continued forward to investigate the situation. "So you're also afraid?" Lola asked. "Afraid?" The Black Horse looked up and spoke seriously. "You misunderstand. It's just that my professional ethics require me to stay by the customer's side so that I can respond to the customer's call at any time. All right. No need to say anything else. I understand you." Lola held back her laughter and patted the horse's back. "You're afraid of ghosts?" Gu Shan casually asked. "Of course. I'm afraid of these things the most," Lola generously admitted. She sat on the Black Horse's back while Gu Shan led the horse forward. The two of them continued forward. "Sure enough, there's something wrong with the road," Gu Shan stopped and commented. In front of them, the entire road had been cut off from the middle. A large crater appeared in the middle of the road. The stone walls around the crater were filled with uneven holes, as well as large patches of dark red blood. Gu Shan walked up to the crater and looked at the other side. This crater was made by something, but it was over 100 meters wide. As for its depth, Gu Shan released her inner sight to check and found that the crater was over 200 meters deep, filled with blood. There was nothing inside this thick blood, but there were large bloody footprints on the stone wall leading to the other side of the crater. These strange bloody footprints followed the stone wall all the way to the road on the other side of the crater, then slowly went away, as if something had climbed up the stone wall from the bottom of the crater to the road on the other side, heading towards the city center. "Can we jump over?" Gu Shan asked. "We can. Just run up and jump over. It shouldn't be a problem," the Black Horse replied. Roar. A terrifying roar could be heard from the center of the city. This roar didn't sound like a beast, but more like countless people screaming in pain at the same time. Lola took out her binoculars, wanted to take a look. Gu Shan took the binoculars and said, "Don't look, some ghosts can sense people's sight." Hearing that, Lola had no choice but to give up. She glanced over to see Gu Shan's expression was a bit strange. "What's wrong? Did you find something?" Lola couldn't help but ask. No, I just thought of something." While answering, Gu Shan stood still and thought for a bit. He simply led the Black Horse back to a secluded corner of the road and found a clean place. Taking out a formation plate, Gu Shan quickly arranged several formations. Not caring about the cost of spirit stones, Gu Shan arranged all the high-level defensive formations in one go, as well as a few dozen offensive formations. This amount of formations, it would be even in the cultivation world and in Shan, Qing Gu Su, Gu Shan, setting up a defensive formation. Thinking for a bit, Gu Shan silently set up a soundproof formation. Lola asked, "I know you're setting up formations. I'm asking why you're setting up a defensive formation." To rest, Lola was stunned. "We've already done a lot of things, gone to a lot of places without stopping. There's even more danger ahead, and we're already very tired. This isn't good. It'll affect our judgment and reaction time, which could even threaten our lives," Gu Shan told her. "If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have noticed. I'm actually very tired. It's only because it's too dangerous that I'm barely hanging on," Lola yawned. Gu Shan tapped her inventory bag and placed a large table in the middle of the formation. Spring onions, ginger, garlic, soy sauce, vinegar, pepper, chili, everything was arranged neatly, then took out some fresh ingredients, placed them on the stove, started a fire, and washed the spatula. "Are you used to human food?" "Not bad." "All right." 2 chairs appeared out of thin air. "Sit here for a bit. I'll prepare the food," Gu Shan said without turning around. He then began to cook some vegetables and soup. Lola sat down and silently watched him. "I didn't think you could cook. Let's have a good hot meal, then go to sleep. Tomorrow, when you're fully refreshed, we'll go explore this city again." "That's great." Lola raised both hands and cheered. Dinner was very sumptuous. 7 meat dishes, 4 vegetable dishes, 1 soup. Lola ate very slowly, but Gu Shan ate 2 bowls of food at once. The Black Horse looked at the table full of food and hesitated. Gu Shan gave it some spirit herbs. The Black Horse ate a few of them and was very satisfied. It politely thanked her. The two of them and the Black Horse had a good meal. After dinner, Gu Qing Shan washed the dishes, put everything away, and took out of bed. Let's rest now. He covered Lola with a blanket and watched over her. The temperature inside the formation was just right, spirit energy was abundant, and it was completely silent. As Lola laid on the bed, she could feel her exhaustion all over her body. "Aren't you going to sleep?" she asked. "A cultivator can just meditate. It's better to rest." Gu Qing Shan, "I'm a bit afraid to sleep. Why not?" "I feel like it's too cold." "That's just your imagination. I don't feel anything at all." "You don't feel anything?" "Of course, I'm a cultivator. As you know, a cultivator's spirit sense can sense danger. The entropy ghost from before. I can sense it. Don't you remember? I was the one who set up the formation to stop it. So you really don't feel anything at all right now?" "Yes." Hearing Gu Qing Shan's answer, Lola sighed in relief. "Seems like I've been too tense lately, so I'm imagining things." She rubbed her forehead and muttered. "That's right." Gu Qing Shan lightly stroked her head. "Sleep well. You need to rest a bit." Lola closed her eyes. Gu Qing Shan took out a cushion and sat on the edge of the bed. A few moments later, Gu Qing Shan, "I can't sleep. Let's play a bedtime game." "What game?" "You tell me a little secret. I'll also tell you something about myself. We'll do the same. Normally, it's Mother who plays this game with me every night." "All right, Lola. Do you know why Bali and Meow kept me in club?" Lola was intrigued by this question and tried asking, "Because you're a good person?" "No, it's because my cooking skills won them over, so that's why." Now that I think about it, your food really is quite delicious." "All right, it's time for you to tell me about yourself." Gu Qing Shan, "Do you know why I'm afraid of heights?" "Why?" "The bramblebirds have their memories when they're born. On the day I was born, my father was so happy that he didn't pay attention when he was carrying me, causing me to fall from the saint tree." "The saint tree?" "That's right, the saint bramble tree, the one that grants us miraculous power. It's about 10,000 meters tall." "You fell from such a high place as soon as you were born? And you even know about it?" "That's right. My first impression of this world was falling. I could feel myself falling. Your father should have been able to save you very quickly. He thought that my mother would make a move, and my mother also thought that he would make a move. Then the ministers thought that the king and queen would make a move. The guards thought that the ministers would make a move, and the guests thought that the guard would make a move. So no one helped." "That's right. After I fell for a few thousand meters, I was finally saved by everyone. It's a sad story. It's time for you to tell me your secret." "Secret? I once dreamt that I went through a lot of battles in my past life, then died. When I woke up, I found that I was 18 years old again. Everything had to start all over again. That's strange. Meow will probably be interested in this." "That's right. She's the one who wrote it." Lola closed her eyes and slowly fell asleep. Gu Qing Shan silently waited. Time slowly passed. Lola suddenly started sobbing, talking in her sleep. "Mother, I miss you so much." She restlessly turned her body. Gu Qing Shan thought for a bit, then took out a long, calming incense stick and lit it. This was specially made by Qin Shaolu. Not only does it help people fall asleep faster, it also has a certain calming effect on the soul vessel. The calming incense stick gave off a faint blue smoke as a faint fragrance filled the air. Very quickly, Lola's breathing became steady and regular. Her expression also relaxed. Gu Qing Shan stared at her and calmed down. "That's enough," he muttered. Immediately, an autumn water clear blue sword appeared from the void of space. The long sword turned soundlessly and turned into a beautiful woman in green. "Gongzi, leave it to me. I'll be troubling you from now on." Gu Qing Shan stood up from the cushion and gave it to Shanu. "Gongzi, if you fight." Shanu was a bit worried. "With the Chao Yin sword and Earth sword here, it'll be fine. I'll call you again then. Don't worry, if I can't win, I'll run. You should know very well how I escape." "All right," Shanu was a bit relieved. She used mystery of all beings equal to take Gu Qing Shan's appearance. At once, two Gu Qing Shans appeared inside the formation. Shanu's Gu Qing Shan sat down on the cushion, watching over Lola, while the real Gu Qing Shan was about to leave. The black horse opened its eyes wide and stared at this. Gu Qing Shan stroked its head and said, "The situation is very unique. You can rest here. I'll be right back." The black horse nodded. "You're going to fight? Then be careful." Gu Qing Shan smiled and left the formation. Facing the night wind, crossing a deep pit of blood, running along an abandoned road, passing through streets full of strange corpses, Gu Shan kept moving forward. Unlike when he had Lola with him, when Gu Shan was moving alone, he didn't seem to care about anything at all. Like a bolt of lightning, he was flying at full speed through the silent city. The Earth Sword and Chao Yin Sword followed closely behind him, flying forward together. Roar! Oh, 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 oh. Hee hee. Oh, 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 oh. In front of him, countless eerie voices could be heard, some angry, some laughing, some fearful, some mad, all at once. Gu Shan stopped and descended from the sky. This place was very close to the city center. Ahead of him was a battlefield. In Gu Shan's inner sight, that place was hell, an azura field, a place that would make anyone's hair stand on end. If a normal person were to enter such a place, they would be left with an unforgettable and terrifying memory for the rest of their lives. Gu Shan sighed and muttered, "It's a good thing I'm asleep. What happens next is definitely not for children." Chapter 625. The World of Fog Isle. Lord of Blood's tracking technique disappeared, but Su Cher didn't know where her Shifu went. She could only watch as the scene faded away. Just now, she had been sitting there watching Gu Shan's experience, toying with 800 demonized people, being forced halfway up the mountain by the Dead Soul Demon King, surrounded by 200 million demonized people. She watched him break through the encirclement. She watched him run into the ice cave, watched the Dead Soul Demon King get killed by the Divine Mountain. When the scene faded away, he was cooking dinner for Lola. She was still watching him. Su Cher looked at the steaming dishes on the table, stunned for a while. She rubbed her stomach, feeling a bit hungry. If only she could be like Lola, staying with him no matter what, regardless of life or death, Su Cher would have no regrets. Unfortunately, I made the wrong choice. You could have fought by his side. You could have stayed in Tree's world for a while. It's easiest to show your true feelings in battle. Recalling Lord of Blood's teachings, Su Cher felt a bit regretful. If Shifu was the one who encountered something similar, he would definitely be able to deal with it. "I'm such an idiot," Su Cher shook her head and muttered. She sat there blankly for a while, trying to analyze Gu Shan's fighting style. He's actually not that strong. With normal strength, as long as I have time to prepare my spells, there's a good chance I can win against him. But he's so strong that he killed over a dozen powerful opponents in just a few breaths worth of time. These people didn't even have the chance to attack. In the temple, more than 800 people actually thanked him one after another before he left. The Chaos Demon King couldn't do anything to him. 200 million people couldn't stop him. He's so strong that he's completely unreasonable. Recalling how serious Gu Shan was when he lied to them, Su Cher couldn't help but chuckle. She stayed silent for a while longer, then stood up and left the room. Walking along the long path, at the end of the path was the innermost black door of the House of Law. Su Cher stood in front of the small black door. After a moment of hesitation, she took out a key. Looking at the key, she recalled the words of the Lord of Blood. "Sure, I've personally set up this room. It's a card master mentor test. Isn't there such a test in the academy? That kind of test has been used for more than 10,000 years. It's long outdated. When you feel that you are strong enough, take this key and give it a try. When you are able to complete the test of the mentor level alone, I will allow you to enter the depths of the Blood Sea and sign a contract with those few beings." "Ah, really? Can I sign a contract with them?" "As long as you pass the test, of course." Su Cher no longer hesitated and inserted the key into the lock. After going through a battle of life and death, and having her impurities cleansed by the spirit of the eternal holy tree's magic, Su Cher felt that her strength had increased tremendously. "Right now, I can already face the challenge of the mentor level." Shan, wait for me," Su Cher muttered as she pushed the door open. On the other side, Gu Shan was standing at the top of a tall coral-like building, looking forward. The dense coral blocked his line of sight, but it could not block his divine sense. With Gu Shan's sainted late-stage inner sight, she was able to scan every inch of this city. Layers upon layers of corals blocked Gu Shan's vision. But with Gu Qingshan's inner sight, she could clearly see the end of the road. There was a large square, normally used for large events and gatherings. It was large enough to hold several 10,000 people. Dead people were coming from every direction. Tens of thousands of dead people with eerie smiles on their faces, lined up neatly and silently walked towards the square. In the middle of the square stood a monster that would make anyone's hair stand on end. It looked like a black mountain that gave off an ominous presence. This monster didn't have any limbs, so it was slowly moving forward on the square. Despite how clumsy the monster looked, Gu Qingshan's sense of danger was becoming more and more intense. All the corpses walked up to the monster and melted into its black body. Whenever a corpse entered the monster's body, a face would appear on the monster's black body. As time passed, more and more faces appeared on the monster's body, all crammed together. Every face wore an expression of bliss. Rather than calling this a monster, it was more accurate to call it a disgusting amalgamation. Before coming here, Gu Qingshan already noticed this eerie monster with her inner sight. Since there were so many walking corpses, he didn't bring Lola with him. It's giving me a very uncomfortable feeling, Gu Qingshan muttered. As soon as she said so, the black mountain-like monster abruptly stopped. It turned to look at Gu Qingshan. According to common sense, there were countless layers of coral structures between it and Gu Qingshan, so it shouldn't have been able to see Gu Qingshan at all. But the black monster was still looking at Gu Qingshan's direction. It silently paused for a brief moment. Suddenly, the countless faces on the monster's body opened their mouths and spoke at the same time. "You're late." Gu Qingshan's vision was also blocked by the coral structures. However, he could feel that a strange aura had already locked onto him. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. Although I didn't use the presence concealment technique, I've already concealed my presence to the minimum. Who would have thought such a small sentence would be heard? Then what did I miss? Gu Qingshan asked. The ritual is over. The entropy ghost has turned into countless ghosts of Huang Quan and brought all the living beings of this place to me. All the faces spoke at once. You're not the entropy ghost. Who are you? You don't need to know, because you're about to die, the monster answered. As soon as it said so, the entire square disappeared, replaced by a deep crater. A crater so deep that you couldn't see the bottom. Gu Qingshan tried releasing his inner sight to check, but couldn't find the bottom of the crater. At the same time, the monster also disappeared. Gu Qingshan knew the situation wasn't good, so he unleashed all the spirit energy in his body. A sword seal appeared. Secret art torrent. From the two flying swords, countless sword phantoms as vast as the stars flowed out like a tsunami. At the same time, Gu Qingshan used her lightning thaumaturgy without hesitation. Severance. Two torrents of sword phantoms converged and shot straight to the sky under the power of severance. Gu Qingshan hid inside the sword phantoms and left together. Countless desperate screams resounded at the same time. In that split second, just now, the black monster went through the layers of buildings and directly appeared where Gu Qingshan originally stood. It was struck by severance and stopped in place for 3 seconds. You can't escape. The countless faces on the monster angrily shouted. It lightly floated up and flew towards the sky, trying to catch up to Gu Qingshan. Below the monster, the building where Gu Qingshan originally stood had been completely corroded, leaving only an empty shell. Gu Qingshan's expression turned serious. This monster went through countless coral buildings, attempting to envelop himself. Anything it envelopes will be corroded and destroyed. Teleportation and devouring. Are these its abilities? The combination of these abilities is truly unbelievably powerful. If it wasn't for severance, blocking it and preventing it from activating its other abilities, the current situation would have been completely different. Gu Qingshan stopped high in the sky. Below him, the black monster was still chasing after him. It seems that its teleportation can only be activated within a certain range. Earth Sword, is this a ghost? No, I don't know what it is either. I've never seen it before. You've never seen it before? How interesting, sha. Gu Qingshan wielded the Earth Sword and slashed at it from afar. A series of large white crescent sword phantoms cut through the sky, slashing towards the black mountain-like monster. Crescent slash, 9 consecutive slashes. As soon as the black monster saw these sharp sword phantoms, it disappeared without a trace. After the sword phantoms flew away, it reappeared. Gu Qingshan's eyebrows twitched. It was clearly hiding in the space vortex just now, only reappearing after all the sword phantoms had flown away. This was a very rare ability. Void evasion, teleportation, devour, void evasion. All of these powerful abilities were being used by a single monster at the same time. Be careful. It's very powerful, the Earth Sword spoke up. I'm guessing that it still has quite a few tricks up its sleeves, but I don't want to fail like this, Gu Qingshan muttered. He reached his left hand out and held the Chao Yin sword. Chapter 626. The black monster that was the size of a hill flew into the sky in a nimble manner. When it was a few hundred meters away from Gu Qingshan, the monster suddenly disappeared. Gu Qingshan thought of something and used ground shrink right away. As the monster disappeared, so did Gu Qingshan. One person and one monster disappeared at the same time. When the monster reappeared, it was already at Gu Qingshan's position. Still couldn't hit Gu Qingshan. Little insect from another world, do you only know how to run? The countless faces on the monster's body laughed mockingly. Suddenly, an intense pain came. Gu Qingshan was standing behind it, his sword stabbing into its body. I'm only making space for you. Saying so, Gu Qingshan abruptly activated his secret art. Boom! With his full power, the two water flow severance fused into one, unleashing all of the sword phantoms inside the monster's body at once. The vast sword phantoms condensed into a mass of light that blasted the monster's pitch-black body apart. A large number of corpses fell from the monster's body, falling from the sky. The monster let out a short scream of pain. It didn't realize that this was only the beginning. Gu Qingshan's body slightly moved. His swords turned into blurred images as he slashed at the monster's body. His swords were too fast. By the time the monster let out another scream of pain, Gu Qingshan had already slashed it 36 times. From a secret art to the 36th slash, the monster didn't even have time to react. In just one breath's worth of time, the monster's body had been cut into dozens of pieces by the two swords, scattering in the air. After doing that, Gu Qingshan wielded his swords and retreated. With one sword in front and one behind, he guarded his body vigilantly. Chao Yin's sword asked in confusion. Its presence isn't weakening at all. It's actually growing stronger, Gu Qingshan replied. While he was talking, all of the monster's broken body parts gathered together and began to wriggle madly. In just 1 second, the monster returned to its original state. So this reptile uses cold weapons. All the faces on the monster stared at Gu Qingshan and roared in anger. Gu Qingshan became even more vigilant. Teleportation, devour, void evasion, and fusion recovery were all very powerful skills. 4 cold weapon professions. Monsters with quick recovery skills were not easy to kill. Apart from that, it could also judge my fighting style. This monster, while Gu Qingshan was thinking, the monster moved. This time, it didn't use teleportation to approach her. Instead, it took the initiative to distance itself from Gu Qingshan. Your sword is very fast. I'm sure you've killed a lot of people who couldn't react in time. But I have to say, I'm going to make you fall into deep despair, the countless faces on the monster's body spoke. Its black body began to wriggle crazily again. All the faces showed pained expressions. A face suddenly rose from the monster's body. This seemed to be a signal. 5 faces, 10 faces, 100 faces, thousands of faces. The thousands of faces left the monster's body and floated around it. An adult man's face silently floated forward. It flickered in the air for a bit, then directly crossed a large distance to appear in the air. Then it disappeared. Continuous teleportation? Gu Qingshan's eyebrows twitched, then stabbed forward with her sword. As soon as the face appeared, it was skewered by the earth sword. The adult man's face howled with all its might. A sword phantom flashed. Their faces were scattered in the wind. Gu Shan killed it with a single strike, but she didn't feel happy at all. This face was even more agile than the mountain-like monster. It was able to teleport twice in a row. If all the faces were the same, Gu Shan's gaze turned to the monster. Sure enough, all the faces around the monster disappeared. They flickered once, approaching Gu Shan. The second time, hundreds of thousands of faces appeared in front of Gu Shan. They came at her from every direction, about to tear Gu Shan's body apart. In that split second, Gu Shan's two swords struck. Secret art, drawn shadow, secret art, drawn shadow. The two drawn shadows unleashed a dense mass of black sword shadows, slashing back and forth in the air. Bam, 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 bam. All the faces were slashed to pieces, screaming as they disappeared into the void of space. The black sword shadows slowly faded away. Gu Shan's figure appeared again. He wielded both swords, looking down at the monster below, only to see more and more faces appearing on the black monster's body. They stared at Gu Shan, whispering to each other. His reaction speed is too fast. His swords are also impressive. We have to find another way to eat his flesh. Let's use that attack. As the faces discussed, the densely packed faces once again covered the monster's body. As soon as the faces were killed, they came back to life on the monster's body. Revive? It has such an ability? Gu Shan muttered. He was also observing the monster, try to find its weakness. Seems like I can only try attacking its main body. I can only hope that its main body doesn't have any troublesome properties like reviving. While Gu Shan was thinking that, all the faces on the monster's body opened their mouths. They let out a sound that shook the entire space around them. Following this sound, various illusions manifested one by one. A large burning land in the sky, countless demonic creatures of all shapes and sizes were running across it. They were all looking at Gu Shan as if waiting for his arrival. A seven-colored light suddenly appeared from Gu Shan's body. From the void of space, a rain of petals and various auspicious beasts descended. This was the secret art of kindness that the great monk of sorrow gave him after the decisive battle in the cultivation world. When Gu Shan's soul vessel was being corroded, the secret art of kindness was automatically activated to counter it. But obviously, the enemy was too strong this time. As soon as the phantoms of the 6 good god protectors holding various weapons appeared, they instantly turned into illusory bubbles. The shadow of the guardian deity of virtue couldn't protect Gu Shan in time and was destroyed. Gu Shan felt a splitting headache as a strong suction force appeared. Oh no! His expression changed. He quickly took out a formation plate and created several soundproof formations. In a split second, the sound disappeared, the illusions became hazy, the demonic creatures also slowly disappeared. Even after they disappeared, the demonic creatures were still staring at Gu Shan. Gu Shan suddenly realized, no, this wasn't just a soul vessel attack. This was also a combination of skills that could actually banish me to another world. Just now, Gu Shan seemed to have sensed the existence of that world. With so many skills, this monster's strength is truly terrifying. While he was thinking, the monster became restless, seemingly about to unleash another round of attacks. This time, it manifested 2 jet black hands. The monster waved its hands, drawing out a dark presence. This darkness began to spread everywhere. From the looks of it, the monster was about to unleash some sort of spell. Gu Shan's gaze became sharp. I can't let it keep fighting like this. Just as he raised his sword, he saw a figure rushing towards the black monster. It was an old man covered in blood. There's still a living person? The monster was surprised. The old man took a few steps forward, then abruptly enlarged his body. Boom! The old man crashed into the monster, sending it flying, breaking countless corals along the way as he rolled several hundred meters away. The darkness around him also disappeared. The monster's spell had been interrupted. Gu Shan was completely stunned, because the old man had turned into an ancient creature, exactly the same as the corpse he saw in the holy church. This ancient creature looked similar to humans, but much uglier and more ferocious. But this combination of ugliness and ferociousness gave off a sense of dignity and solemnity. Could it be that the people of this world can turn into ancient creatures? Which means the ancient creature's corpse I saw before was actually a person of this world. No, that can't be right. Probably not everyone could turn into an ancient species. Otherwise, so many humans wouldn't have been killed so easily by the monster. Most likely, only a small portion of people in this world have that kind of ability. All of a sudden, the ancient creature looked up at Gu Qing Shan. Those attacks were useless, neither were my attacks. Chapter 627. In truth, it wasn't like Gu Qing Shan didn't have a solution. Halfway through the battle, he glanced at the war god UI. After killing 11 entropy ghosts, my soul points had reached almost 1 million. Not to mention soul points, after killing the entropy ghost, the Tai sword array had been charged up 3 more times, increasing its power to 16 times. Should I use a 16x Tai sword array? No, that would be like killing a chicken with a sledgehammer. A 16x Tai sword array was his true trump card, something that must be used at the most crucial moment. Since Gu Qing Shan had made up his mind, he didn't go all out just yet. "Are you sure the power of lightning will work?" he asked. The ancient creature loudly replied, "Lightning retribution is our world's punishment measure, a rule made by the old gods when they created our world. So it's more powerful than any other element, almost invincible, although the ancient species looked ugly. When they spoke in the pure language of the remnant of the ancient times. This was a common language among the demis, even recorded in the Spire Keeper Association's dictionary. Then I'll give a try," Gu Qing Shan said. A few hundred meters away, the black monster once again stood up. With a single thought from Gu Qing Shan, the Earth Sword and Chao Yin Sword both flew towards the monster. Ignoring the monster's 2 black arms to block, the Earth Sword slashed forward. Dong! The ground cracked and sunk, but the monster managed to block the Earth Sword's 86,370,000 ton strike. The countless faces on its body screamed in pain. Obviously, it wasn't in a good state to block such an attack. Taking that chance, the Chaoyin sword stabbed through the monster's chest. Lightning thaumaturgy, severance. The monster froze in place, unable to move a single inch. For 3 seconds, all of its soul vessel was forcefully separated from its body, unable to move. What can you do in 3 seconds? Gu Qing Shan suddenly appeared, holding the Earth Sword in her hand. Severance. Stab. Wind twist. Quadruple slash. With a swing of the sword, 7 strikes were completed. Arcs of blue-white lightning as thick as an arm appeared from Gu Qing Shan's body and fused into the Earth Sword. Blinding lightning flashed on and off the Earth Sword, illuminating the surroundings into a world of lightning. In a split second, the Earth Sword let out 7 flashes of lightning. Lay long, Gu Qing Shan bellowed. A huge, ferocious dragon head made of blue lightning emerged from the tip of the sword. Behind the dragon's head was a dragon's body made from a mix of sword phantoms and lightning, rising from the Earth Sword. Boom! The lightning dragon took the monster to the sky. Oh no, why do people in this world still know how to use lightning? The monster let out a shrill howl. Halfway through its flight, the lightning dragon turned into a circle of blue lightning and enveloped the monster. It looked as if a blue sun had appeared in the sky. The night turned into day. The black monster's figure gradually disappeared in the lightning. The light gradually dimmed. The lightning ball turned into a swimming electric snake and scattered in the sky. The black monster disappeared without a trace. It was completely killed. Seeing that, Gu Qing Shan slowly realized what happened. So the old gods had set up the rules to use lightning as this world's punishment. With lightning, as well as the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword's anti-magic ability, no wonder I was able to kill so many entropy ghosts so easily. After all, entropy ghosts are still chaotic demon lords. Gu Qing Shan turned around, only to see that the ancient creature had turned back into the old man. The old man opened his mouth wide, staring at the sky, still in the same position even after the lightning dragon disappeared. Noticing Gu Qingshan's gaze, he finally regained his senses. "I'm sorry. I've never seen such powerful lightning before," the old man said. Seeing that he was covered in blood, Gu Qingshan casually tossed a pill to him. The old man caught the pill, sniffed it, and relaxed his eyebrows. Without hesitation, he put the pill in his mouth, chewed it a few times, and swallowed. "I didn't even say anything, and you already ate it? Aren't you afraid I'll do something?" Gu Qingshan asked in surprise. There's nothing that can poison this old man. Not to mention, with this old man's several hundred years of experience, I can easily tell that this is a good thing. The old man puffed out his chest and proudly declared. "Then let me tell you, aside from healing wounds, this pill of mine also has the effect of cleansing the body. Why didn't you say so earlier?" Gu Qingshan helplessly shrugged. "I didn't even get a chance to say anything before you swallowed the pill." The old man clutched his stomach, then limped away to find a place to squat. "Wait a minute. Are there any other living people in this city?" Gu Qingshan loudly asked from behind him. "I'm the last survivor." While answering, the old man quickly ran into a coral building. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. "To be able to survive such a rash attack. Seems like you're quite strong," he muttered. While the old man went to the toilet, Gu Qingshan walked towards the plaza. She didn't know what the black monster did, but the entire plaza had disappeared. What replaced it was a deep crater. A crater so deep that she couldn't see the bottom. Gu Qingshan tried releasing her inner sight to check, but couldn't find the bottom of the crater. Gu Qingshan stopped at the edge of the plaza and observed her surroundings. Below her, the originally blue ground had completely disappeared at the edge of the plaza. The crater was filled with reddish-brown flames. These flames came from underground. When the wind blew, they left a long trail of flames behind them. At a glance, these flames seemed to be alive, as they were glowing at each other, fusing together to form a separate area from the outside world. The Earth Sword spoke up. "These are the flames of purgatory." "Purgatory? Is this a normal world?" Gu Qingshan asked. "What do you mean by normal?" "It wasn't enveloped by the Demon King order. It used to be normal, but now I don't know," the Earth Sword replied. "What about these flames?" "The flames of purgatory have always been like this, sir," another voice replied. Gu Qingshan looked back. At some unknown point, a person had appeared at the center of the crater. This person was wearing a black suit, appearing to be tall and well-mannered. "Greetings, Mr. Gu Qingshan. I am a representative from purgatory. My master said that when you win against that monster, you will be qualified to accept our mediation." "Mediation?" "Indeed, between you and the Demon King order. My master wishes to mediate once." "Why?" "Mr. Gu Qingshan, do you know why a civilized world, or rather, countless civilized worlds, is called a civilization?" "I don't like answering questions. If you have something you want to talk to me about, please tell me directly." The man put up a finger and said, "Only order can represent the existence of a civilization." "Order?" Gu Qingshan became cautious. "I heard that purgatory is the most chaotic place," he said. "Ah, our place is indeed chaotic, but chaos is also a type of order because the master of purgatory likes chaos," the man replied. "What exactly do you want from me?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Mr. Gu Qingshan, we shouldn't have appeared here. Both you and I." "What do you mean?" "World Apocalypse Online is the Demon King order, while you don't represent any order, so we hope that you can stand by and watch. That way, you will be able to gain Purgatory's friendship. You belong to World Apocalypse Online?" "No, we are the middlemen," the man in black suit continued. "If you agree to stop and are willing to leave immediately, we of Purgatory will help you leave the battlefield and guarantee that the Demon King order will never be able to affect you again." "Why do you want to mediate?" Gu Qingshan asked. The man smiled apologetically. "If I answer your question, our secret will be completely exposed." "I'm sorry, Mr. Gu Qingshan. Accept the mediation. That way, the Demon King order will stay away from you. We of Purgatory will also accept you as our esteemed guest." "You seem very confident in convincing me." "I do. After all, you're only a tiny insect. You don't belong to any order, so there's no need for you to seek death. It seems your actions are to curry favor with a certain target. You're very sharp, too sharp." "Mr. Gu Qingshan, Please tell me your choice. I can't tell you anything else. I refuse. Are you sure? I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you what will happen to you if you refuse. Please go ahead. I'm listening. If you refuse our mediation. The man showed a meaningful smile. When you die, the master of purgatory will personally collect your soul. You'll be burned by the flames of the purgatory furnace for eternity. You will howl, cry, regret, suffer for eternity. But there will be no chance to redeem yourself. Gu Shan went silent for a bit, then nodded. It seems your master and I have a common understanding. The man clapped his hands. A common understanding? Very well, Mr. Gu Shan, please continue. Chapter 628. The tall man in a black suit maintained his elegant posture. He smiled as he looked at Gu Shan, waiting for the expected answer. However, the words that came out of the other party's mouth stunned him for a moment. Gu Shan continued. Regarding the matter your master brought up, I very politely replied to him. You can now return and report to him. The tall man's smile slowly froze. Mr. Gu Shan, his tone became cold. Have you always been this ignorant and arrogant? Expressing my own will isn't something to be arrogant about, Gu Shan replied. The tall man reached his hand out, pointing at the endless purgatory fire at his feet. Inside the bottomless pit, the purgatory fire was still burning. If you take a closer look, you'll see a lot of monsters hiding inside the fire. These monsters use the fire as a barrier, using the fire as the soil, running, jumping, and playing around. When a man pointed at the fire, all the monsters stopped and looked at Gu Shan. They crouched down, making a threatening gesture. You might not know, but to project a corner of purgatory into a lost age of old world, I paid a great price, the tall man said. Gu Shan smiled. That's right. Unfortunately, the monster you prepared couldn't kill me. So you had no choice but to come out and talk to me. Two swords appeared from the void of space behind Gu Shan. He continued, now that I think about it, that monster just now summoned a mirror image of a world. I was almost sent into that world. That was your purgatory world, wasn't it? The tall man went silent. You're very sharp, Mr. Gu Shan. Saying so, he rolled up his sleeve to reveal his left arm. On his left arm, there was a flaming circular pattern depicting a monster with two horns on its head. Without waiting for him to do anything, a sword suddenly pierced through his chest. Behind him, another sword pierced through at the same angle. A clang sound was heard. The two swords clashed. One of them turned into a blurred image and disappeared, while the Chaoyin sword was sent flying back. Gu Shan raised her eyebrows in surprise and reached out to catch the sword. Unexpectedly, Swallow Return did not hit the other party. This was an extremely rare sight. It's useless. I am projecting myself here from purgatory. There are trillions of worlds between us. You won't be able to hit me. The tall man laughed. He stared at the Chaoyin sword in Gu Shan's hand with a greedy expression. If it weren't for that sword of old god in your hand, what right do you have to make me pay such a heavy price to come here? You can't even fight? Do you people from purgatory rely on talking to solve problems? Gu Shan sighed regretfully. No, you underestimate us too much, Gu Shan, the man said in a low voice. The man raised his arm, and the burning pattern on his arm suddenly emitted a strong smell of sulfur. Thanks to the call of the entropy ghost, I shall bring you to purgatory to reflect on yourself. The flames condensed and rose from his arms. Carrying the smell of sulfur, the endless flames rose to the sky and slowly formed the shape of a two-horned monster. Master of Demon Flame, Lord of the Space-Time, Demon Lord, he loudly chanted. Gu Shan scowled. I can't kill him, but does that mean he can use a spell to hit me? That can't be right. The laws of space should be reciprocal. Just now, he purposely let me attack first to prove to me that I can't hit him. The Earth Sword suddenly urged her. Hurry. Now. Only when he attacks will you be able to hurt him. Just as I thought, with a single thought, Gu Shan activated her sword seal again. Kill. The Earth Sword flew out in response, turning into a blurred image as it headed straight for the tall man. You want to use such a trashy sword? Dash, the tall man scoffed. He reached his other hand out to create layers of flames to stop the flying sword. But he didn't finish his sentence. The earth sword pierced through the layers of flames and drew a large crescent moon-shaped sword phantom. Secret art, crescent slash. The tall man was cut in half from head to toe. He froze in place. In the sky, the flaming monster suddenly let out an unwilling roar. Before it could fully manifest, it had already disappeared. The earth sword stood straight up. The cold blade was still dripping with blood as it silently flew in front of the tall man. A trashy wild ghost of purgatory like you dares to seek death in front of me. The earth sword spoke in a low voice. You, who exactly are you? Before the tall man could finish his words, he was already cut in half, his body falling into the crater below. Boundless flames of purgatory surrounded him, burning his body to ashes. Boom! The flames rose to the sky. A large and ferocious shadow appeared from the flames. Seems like the mediation failed the ferocious shadow side. The shadow looked around, then finally stopped at Gu Qingshan. Yours, master? Gu Qingshan asked. Yes, see that insect? The shadow clicked his tongue. At such a crucial point in time, you dare to stand in the path of history. Should I say you're brave or foolish? Gu Qingshan wielded her sword. The so-called history is nothing but the result of countless people's struggles. If you have the guts, don't hide behind the curtains. Come forward and let us see how history chooses. I've already acted, the shadow spoke with an apologetic tone. This soul technique of mine can only be performed with the sacrifice of one of my subordinates, so I've already done what I wanted to do. Gu Qingshan suddenly felt a burning sensation on his arm. As he opened his arm, he saw a black flame symbol on it. At the same time, a line of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. The Master of Purgatory has used a soul symbol on you. Purgatory's embrace. Purgatory's embrace. When you die, the Master of Purgatory will follow this symbol to travel through time and appear directly in front of you. The Master of Purgatory will bring your soul back to Purgatory, the shadow spoke. Then goodbye. When you die, I will personally show you the punishment of Purgatory. Gu Qingshan smiled and waved her hand. Goodbye. What kind of attitude is that? The shadow was surprised. Someone like you who only knows how to hide in the shadows. If you dare to welcome me to Purgatory, then you'll have to give up your seat, Gu Qingshan replied. The earth sword and Chao Yin's sword both moved. Another hand seal. Sha! Two large white crescent sword phantoms pierced through the giant shadow. He missed. Gu Qingshan silently thought. Sure enough, the other party is inside the projection of Purgatory, so I can't hit him. You're full of big words. Ordinary humans like you will only understand what true fear is at the moment of death, the Black Shadow said leisurely. Then we'll see who's the one who's afraid in the end, Gu Qingshan replied. Oomph. At a time like this, if not for your sword, the shadow stared closely at the Chao Yin's sword and regretfully shook his head. In a split second, the shadow as well as the flames of Purgatory disappeared without a trace. All that was left was a deep, empty pit. He ran too fast, not even giving me a second chance to attack, the earth sword muttered. It flew back to Gu Qingshan's side. A wraith or deity? Gu Qingshan asked. That's right. Most likely a small fry that managed to survive the age of Purgatory, the earth sword replied. Why do I feel like you're not in the right state? Gu Qingshan asked. During that strike, just now, although Gu Qingshan had used the hand seal, she could feel that the earth sword's attack was a bit slow. There was a faint connection between a sword cultivator and a sword spirit. That's why Gu Qingshan asked that. I haven't had much soul points to nourish my body lately, so some of my old problems are acting out, the earth sword replied. Gu Qingshan's heart sank. The earth sword was the sword that he had been carrying with him for the longest time, as well as the legacy sword of his sect, but now there seems to be a problem. I'll give you a bit of soul points. Gu Qingshan used the War God UI to infuse the earth sword with soul points. Almost 1 million soul points. Gu Qingshan directly transferred 100,000 soul points into the earth sword's blade. HM, I feel a bit better now. Thank you, the earth sword replied. Gu Qingshan then used the hand seal. As soon as the earth sword moved, it flew to the sky and skillfully performed the wind slash style. Chapter 629. The flames of purgatory faded away. All the ghosts, corpses, and shadows of purgatory's monsters also disappeared without a trace. The entire city turned into a city of silence. Gu Qingshan sighed and silently pondered. Purgatory calls itself a mediator, but it's actually already leaning towards the Demon King order. Who knows how many other legendary worlds in the 900 million world layers are standing at the crossroads, choosing their own direction. Just now, that person said that I don't represent order, so there's no need to go against the Demon King order. Could there be some other secret behind purgatory? My leg's injured and I've been squatting for so long. It's so uncomfortable. A complaining voice came from afar, cutting off his thoughts. Gu Qingshan turned around. Not too far behind him, the old man came out from the coral building. From the looks of it, his leg was a bit numb and he was staggering a bit. Your wounds have healed a lot, but you still need to take more pills to fully recover. Gu Qingshan glanced at the old man and judged. He took out a few pills from his inventory bag. But this method of healing is too painful. If you still have the same pills, the old man breathed heavily. You're not going to eat any more? Gu Qingshan asked. Give me another one, please. Can you not breathe when you speak? I can't help it. This is the moment of extinction. I need to quickly recover before I can go to the battlefield. Everyone's already dead, and there's still a battlefield? Of course, young man. We need to hurry, the old man loudly declared. Where to? To Tidal City. That's the only place where there are still people alive, and the only place that can stop these monsters from invading. Very well. Please wait a moment. I need to call my friend. Your friend? Wait a minute. You still have people? A friend, the old man was a bit disappointed, but also intrigued. Is she as strong as you? From a certain point of view, she has a way to make a lot of people willingly work for her. Such a powerful spell. The old man was surprised. Yes, it's a spell that no one would be able to resist. Very well. Let's go get your friend first. Then we'll search the entire city again. There might be other survivors. Search for survivors? I'll go with you on this matter. Why don't you bring your friend along? Is he doing something else important? Yes, she has something very important. With Gu Qingshan's spiritual will, the search was fast and efficient. 10 minutes later, on the side of the road, an azure light shot into the sky. In the dark of the night, such a gorgeous and bright light was like a signal flare, very eye-catching. But Gu Qingshan and the old man waited for a long time, but no one came. Looks like they're all dead, the old man said sorrowfully. He clenched his fist. All the light converged. The badge that had exploded with light dimmed. Old Jiao, people like you who can transform into ancient species. How many of them are there? Gu Qingshan asked. The ancient remnant known as Old Jiao had a downcast expression. I don't know how many are left, but I'm the only one left in this city. What about the other cities? The cities have long lost contact with each other. I don't know how many divine seeds there are. Why is the war so intense? Isn't there a barrier of the old gods? If we don't go out to fight them, the demonized will hold a summoning ritual outside the world shell, summoning an endless amount of entropy ghosts to invade our world Old Jiao side. We have no way to deal with the entropy ghosts. That's why, in order to break their summoning ritual, you have no choice but to go out and fight them. That's right, we've gone out to fight them a few times, but there's no way to kill them all. As soon as we show up, we'll be drowned by the flood of demonized. Although we can occasionally break the summoning ritual, our people can only die in the end. Gu Qingshan fell silent. There are over 200 million demonized people outside. Even if I go out and fight against this number, I'll only be able to do nothing. Why is Tidal City still able to hold on? He asked again. Tidal City is a city of worship chosen by the old gods. There's a powerful outsider. They're helping us. Of course, this isn't enough. We'll have to take a look first, an outsider. Gu Qingshan realized something. That's right. She knows a unique spell that can control the entropy ghost to a certain degree. Thanks to this spell of hers, every living person in the world has gone to Tidal City. Is that outsider called Frost of the Cold Night? Frost of the Cold Night, Ilya? How do you know her name? Old Jiao asked in surprise. I'm also looking for her. Gu Shan calmed down. No wonder I couldn't find this person in the icy world outside. Even after such a huge commotion, she still didn't show up. It turns out Frost of the Cold Night, Ilya, has already entered the world. Gu Shan felt a bit more confident. Frost of the Cold Night, Ilya, was a combatant on par with the Light of Dawn Triest, the Bramblebird Kingdom's general commander of external warfare. She swore to protect Lola. She's already one of us. I need to bring Lola to her right now. Let's go, wake up my friend, and we'll leave right away, Gu Shan decisively said. Wait a minute. Wake up? Old Jiao shouted in surprise. Didn't you say your friend was doing something very important? Of course, you might not know how terrifying dreams are. In fact, there are some species whose spells can only be activated through dreams. Is that so? Old Jiao was a bit doubtful. That's right. Gu Shan spoke with a serious expression. It was this old man's fault for being ignorant. Let's go. The two of them left together. Very quickly, they reached where Lola was resting. After opening almost 100 layers of formations, Gu Shan brought old Jiao inside. Gongzi, you're back. Shanu stood up and greeted him. I am. How is she? She's sleeping very well. Gu Shan walked in front of the bed and looked at Lola. The little girl was sleeping very soundly. Perhaps because she's been exhausted for the past few days, her breathing was heavy and she was snoring a bit. Gu Shan reached her hand out, hesitantly pulled it back. Let's wait a bit longer. We're about to leave, he said. Shanna nodded, turned back into a sword and disappeared into the void of space. Old Jiao opened his eyes wide as he watched this. The person who spoke with the female voice looked exactly the same as the swordsman next to him. But then, the person turned into a woman, then a sword, then disappeared without a trace. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, old Jiao wouldn't believe such an absurd thing could happen. But the truth was right in front of him. He couldn't help but silently sigh. The world is so big that nothing is too strange. Thinking about it, what the swordsman said just now about someone being able to fight in a dream isn't that strange after all. Your friend is still fighting in a dream? Old Jiao respectfully asked. Ah, probably Gu Shan replied. He looked at Lola. Lola was sleeping so soundly that he didn't want to wake her up. How impressive, but we'll have to hurry, old Jiao said. Why? Tidal City's defenses are tight. We need to let them know of our existence before they can let us in, he continued. We don't have much time. Once the final battle begins, they won't be able to let us in. Can you contact them? I can. Then let's go, Gu Shan sighed. He finally reached his hand out, lightly stroking Lola's forehead. Abundant spirit energy flowed into Lola's body. Lola slowly woke up. What's the matter, Gu Shan? Lola sat up on the bed and asked worriedly. Her gaze fell onto old Jiao. I have good news. We found Ilya. All right, this is old Jiao, a local. He's the guide I hired. He'll take us there, Gu Shan said. You found Ilya? Really? Lola rubbed her eyes and asked in disbelief. Gu Shan nodded. That's great. Lola excitedly raised both of her hands. The three of them quickly packed up and prepared to leave. But before they left, they ran into a problem. The Black Horse can only carry 2 people. How about we just fly? It'll be faster, Gu Shan suggested. No way. I'm not flying. I even dreamed of falling from the sky just now, Lola objected. Then Lola said, leave it to me. Isn't it just the 3 of us? I have a way. Lola thought for a bit, took out a tortoise shell from her backpack and gave it to old Jiao. Thank you. Will it turn into a great ancient tortoise divine seed for me to ride? Old Jiao excitedly asked. It's not that complicated. It's very simple to use. And in times of danger, you can even use it to take shelter, Lola replied. So the 3 of them set off. Where are we going? Tidal City? Gu Shan asked. No, we need to get in touch with them first, old Jiao said. The contact point is outside the city. That's right, the whispering tree can only grow in the forest. What a strange method of communication. Let's go. The Black Horse galloped as fast as it could towards the wilderness outside of the city. It was as fast as lightning. Gu Shan and Lola sat on the Black Horse's back. A long rope extended from the Black Horse's back, dragging a tortoise shell. Old Jiao stood on top of the tortoise shell, tightly holding the rope, and loudly ordered, At the next junction, remember to take the left path. Got it, the black horse replied. Chapter 630. Ugh, my head hurts so much, where am I? She opened her eyes and muttered in her sleep. In her vision, everything became clear. Within the darkness, there was a faint yellow light. That's right, this is the light from the bar. Seeing the large amount of liquor bottles in front of her, she felt a bit more awake. In front of her, a black dog was sitting on top of the bar. Black Dog looked at her with a cold expression. Within the Holy Church, there has never been someone who broke the rules like you. I must give you a stern warning, Black Dog coldly said. What rules did I break? She was confused. You've been drinking for an entire night. Black Dog couldn't help but shout. She tilted her head to think. I really did drink too much yesterday. Don't you know, when someone drinks like you, once you're drunk, it's very easy for someone to take advantage of you. Black Dog continued to criticize her. Isn't this our Holy Church's own bar? She didn't understand. Even so, you can't be like you. You slept for 4 hours straight. If I wasn't here to watch over you, who knows what would have happened? Black Dog angrily jumped off the table and left the bar. Anna was stunned. Something isn't right. Behind the bar, a beautiful woman came out with a cigarette in her mouth. While cleaning a glass, she consoled her. Anna, don't be mad. I'm not mad. That's right, he only woke up 1 minute before you did, and that's right, he drank 3 times more than you did, that's why. He didn't pay the bill. Here's your bill. I have to say, next time you drink, don't look for such a shameless dog as a drinking buddy. Bastard Black Dog. He ran away very quickly. You don't need to chase him. Ha, fine. I'll pay the bill. Anna took out a diamond-shaped skull and slapped it on the table. The beautiful woman waved her hand as the diamond-shaped skull landed on her fingertip. How excellent. You can even get your hands on such a good thing. She clicked her tongue in admiration. Putting the skull away, the beautiful woman thought for a moment and said, Actually, you don't have to worry. This place is not far from the church, so no one would dare to touch a single hair on your head here. However, if you're somewhere else, you definitely can't drink like this. Moreover, if you get too drunk, it will affect your combat power. I know, I'm not that stupid, Anna said angrily. Then what was last night? It's just a little celebration. Oh, what's so happy about? The church's relic awakening ritual. Oh, the beautiful woman's eyes lit up, and her voice suddenly rose. According to the rules, I shouldn't ask about anything, but seeing how happy you are, you must have obtained a decent divine artifact of death, she said. It's passable. Thanks a lot. I have to go now. All right, congratulations. Thank you. Anna waved her hand and strode out of the bar. It was daytime outside. The streets of the war zone were filled with people, bustling with activity. Anna's eyes were blinded by the strong sunlight. Combined with the fact that she was still a bit drunk, she almost stumbled. Shaking her head, Anna finally found her balance. It's time to sell newspapers. Come read the news. Today's latest news, Bali has recovered. The superdimensional world stock market has risen. A newspaper seller brushed past her as she walked away. Bali? Who's that? My head feels a bit dizzy, so I'll just forget about it for now and go back to sleep. With that in mind, Anna recognized the direction of the church and staggered along the street. Her unsightly state immediately drew the attention of many people. A lot of unfriendly gazes landed on her, but when they saw that it was a beauty like Anna, the gazes all looked away. The street became hurried. Many people even quickened their steps. A guy who didn't know what was good for him wanted to come forward, but was quickly pulled away by his companions and quickly left the area. In a secluded alley. Why are you pulling me away? She's a great beauty, and she looks very young. She's a rare top-quality product. That person said angrily. The others exchanged glances and smiled wryly without saying anything. Just let it go. Our brothers are only doing this to save your life, their boss said. Boss, why? Because that girl is a member of the Holy Church of Death. Hearing that, the man uncomfortably shrunk his neck. He couldn't help but argue. But there's no need for her to run that fast. The god of death wouldn't allow his followers to take lives as they pleased this time. Even Boss smiled wryly. Last time, a group of people tried to kidnap her while she was drunk. Do you know what happened? What happened? They all tripped, hit their heads on the ground, and died on the spot. How is that possible? Every single person who managed to make it to the strife zones is a combatant among combatants. How could they die from a single fall? The man asked in disbelief. But no one answered him, not even his boss. It was now that the man realized that this was true. Apparently recalling something, his face slowly paled as cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Causality law, there's a deity of death by her side. That's right. So if you don't want to fall to your death, or choke to death while drinking water, or even choke to death while eating, then stay away from her. Boss patted his shoulder and whispered. The black horse was galloping through the wilderness. Far away in the night sky, a golden circle would occasionally appear. That was the reaction of the old god's barrier when the entropy ghosts entered this world. According to Old Man Jiao, the demonized were still using layers upon layers of complicated rituals to summon the entropy ghosts from the fallen zones. Right now, there weren't enough people to stop the demonized from carrying out this summoning ritual. Gu Qingshan retracted her gaze and sensed the presence coming from a wind. How much longer until we reach the place you mentioned? He asked. At this speed, we'll arrive in 10 minutes, Old Man Jiao loudly replied. 10 minutes. This road isn't going to be easy. Gu Qingshan retracted her inner sight and patted the black horse. Don't worry about anything else. Just charge forward. Got it, the black horse replied. It sped up. A black blur streaked across the wilderness like an arrow released from a bow. Sitting on a horse's back, Gu Qingshan tapped her inventory bag and took out a formation plate. Her hands quickly moved on the formation plate. A flash of light appeared from the void of space, enveloping the black horse and the turtle shell behind it. The spiritual light quickly stabilized, revealing a dense array of inscriptions before disappearing. The formation was completed. Gu Qingshan's hands didn't stop. Very quickly, the light once again illuminated the wilderness. Gu Qingshan arranged another formation. What are you doing? Old Man Jiao asked. Arrange the formation. Prepare for battle. As the light flickered, several large-scale formations were arranged. There's an enemy? Old Man Jiao became anxious. Don't worry, they're just losers. Your wounds haven't fully healed yet. It's best if you don't fight to avoid aggravating them, Gu Qingshan told him. But what if they attack me? Old Man Jiao asked. Lola listened on the side and said, I'll help you, Uncle. She casually waved her hand. The flying turtle shell shook a bit, then a smaller one rose up. This small turtle shell acted like a suit of armor, automatically attaching itself to Old Man Jiao's body. And then, another smaller turtle shell appeared from the small one, attaching itself to Old Man Jiao's head. This is... Old Man Jiao looked at his armor in surprise. Don't worry, the turtle shell is very sturdy. Just shrink a bit more, and the enemy won't be able to touch you anymore, Lola told him. While they were talking, a loud noise resounded. Bam! A 5-story tall demonic beast charged straight at them, crashing into the anti-ghost formation. Because both sides were moving very quickly, the demonic beast was knocked flying. It didn't expect there to be a formation hidden in the void of space, and one that was able to stop it. An entropy ghost, Old Man Jiao exclaimed. Behind Gu Qingshan's back, the autumn water blue sword gave off a flash of lightning and disappeared. After a short period of miserable howls, the surroundings once again returned to tranquility. The flying sword slowly returned and disappeared into the void of space behind him. You beat the entropy ghost away? Old Man Jiao couldn't help but ask. Chapter 631. In the dark night, the sound of horse hooves was like a thunderstorm, like a blinding halo of light. The black horse was completely enveloped. Outside the halo, various strange noises could be heard, as if countless enemies were hiding in the darkness, whispering to each other. The 3 flying swords were quickly circling around the formation. They were constantly unleashing sword phantoms to kill the monsters that were hiding in the formation. The 3 flying swords were moving too fast, like a meat grinder, harvesting the lives of the ghosts. Not a single ghost could escape from the flying sword slash. Gu Qingshan even had the time to glance at the war god UI. Killing an entropy ghost gave me a considerable amount of soul points. A few of the ghosts that died also gave me a decent amount of soul points. Gu Shan slowly calmed down and stopped paying attention to the soul points. Although I gave the Earth Sword 100,000 soul points, I just happened to kill an entropy ghost, so that's enough. Right now, the soul points was still steadily increasing. All of a sudden, all the formations lit up at the same time. This meant that the number of enemies had exceeded their expectations. All the warning formations were now in a state of overload. In the cultivation world, or even the suspended world, for such large-scale formations to be in a state of overload, it could only mean that the war had reached its most crucial stage. But in this lost world of the old gods, all large-scale formations were only meant to deal with a single ambush. Countless wraiths were crawling outside the formation, running around it, as if they were preparing for something. "Be careful, they're coming," Old Man Jiao loudly reminded her. Gu Shan followed the light and looked ahead. The entire wilderness was densely packed with ghosts. They were accumulating in numbers like a tidal wave. A few moments later, an overwhelming tide of ghosts covered the night sky, crashing down on the black horse. The 3 flying swords quickly reacted. They turned into streaks of light and revolved around the halo of the spell formation at an extremely fast speed, continuously flying and slashing. Groups of ghosts were sent flying by the formation. Occasionally, there would be some lucky fish that slipped through the net, but they would be swarmed by the 3 flying swords and quickly dismembered. But the balance of the battle was slowly tilting. There were too many of them. They completely covered dozens of layers of spiritual light formations. Even if they were cut down by the flying swords, they wouldn't give up attacking. Under the bites of the 10,000 ghosts, the formation began to break layer by layer. "Too many," Lola screamed. Gu Shan softly said, "Don't worry." Replacing UG General, he changed the title of War God to Talented General. Title: Talented General. Equipping this title grants the exclusive skill, Rampaging Sword Chi. Crisscrossing Sword Chi. Your longsword is surrounded by countless fine sword chi. Every time you use this skill, the sword chi will condense into a shadow and launch an additional attack. Note, this title skill is limited to swords. With a thought, he activated the sword art once more. The 3 flying swords suddenly stopped. They no longer dashed around in a frenzy. Instead, they each sought out a powerful Yao ghost. 7 swords, 7 swords, 7 swords. In an instant, the flying sword lit up with 7 bolts of lightning. Lei Long. Gu Shan let out a roar, using all of her thunder spiritual force to activate her sword seal. Secret art, 7 stars flowing dragon. Arcs of blue and white lightning as thick as an arm erupted from the flying sword. The blinding lightning turned into a rampaging sea of lightning, illuminating the surroundings as if it was daytime. The blue lightning manifested into a ferocious dragon head, emerging from the tip of the sword. Behind the dragon head, a dragon body made from both sword phantoms and lightning flew out from the flying sword. But it wasn't over yet. As the thunder dragon soared into the sky, a new thunder dragon leaped out from the flying sword. 3 flying swords, 3 7 stars flowing dragon, under the effect of War God title, turned into 6 lightning dragons. Boom! The 6 lightning dragons circled around the light formation, wreaking havoc in the wilderness. The horde of ghosts and demons and the demon army that covered the wilderness were instantly annihilated under the bombardment of the heavenly thunder. Sensing the power of the lightning, the Yao ghosts turned to run. But under the pursuit of 6 lightning dragons, who could possibly escape? The lightning dragons circled back and forth, killing their way through the entire wilderness. About 10 breaths worth of time later, the blinding blue and white lightning slowly faded away. At this point, the surroundings were completely silent. There were no more Yao ghosts, no more noises. Lola rubbed her eyes and carefully looked around. It was supposed to be a landslide, but in the blink of an eye, all the Yao ghosts were gone. Where are the Yao ghosts? The tide of demonic ghosts seemed to be just an illusion or some kind of illusion. Under the night sky, everything was silent. "What kind of swordsmanship is that?" Old Man Jiao asked in a hoarse voice. "A swordsmanship that kills ghosts." Saying so, Gu Shan felt his mouth going dry and his body feeling a bit tired. 7 stars flowing dragon was a powerful secret art. Even with his cultivation, using 3 flying swords at once to unleash 7 stars flowing dragon 3 times in a row still made him feel a bit overburdened. The 3 flying swords returned from the wilderness, slowly drifting towards Gu Shan. Gu Shan waved his hand. The 3 flying swords silently disappeared into the void of space behind him. He tapped his inventory bag again and took out a flask of liquor. The flask was made from 1,000-year-old flame spirit jade. Apparently, this spirit jade can make the liquor even stronger. The smooth surface of the spirit jade was casually carved with a bunch of flowers. The flowers looked a bit sloppy, but they gave off a sense of elegance. Even the flowers he casually carved were full of vitality and were quite interesting. This was Qin Xiaolu's work. The liquor was also 100 flowers medicinal brew that Qin Xiaolu had personally gathered from all sorts of rare spirit flowers and herbs. This flask of spirit liquor was very beneficial to cultivators, but normal people in the cultivation world wouldn't be able to drink it. When Gu Shan was still at Baihua sect, he used their good relationship to shamelessly ask Qin Xiaolu for a few dozen flasks. When he returned to his original world, he gave away quite a bit as he drank, so he only had 1 last flask left in his hand. After everything here is done, it's time to go back and take a look. Thinking about Baihua sect, Gu Shan raised his head and drank the entire flask in 1 gulp. As the strong liquor entered his throat, his entire body felt refreshed. His spirit energy surged again as if it was stimulated. Gu Shan's inner sight became a lot clearer. His spirit was shaken. Sitting on the back of the horse, he suddenly laughed loudly and said, "Carefree." Enna was lying on her bed, also holding a flask of liquor in her hand. The same flask, the same liquor. She looked at the elegant flowers on the wine pot and did not say anything for a while. One time, when she found out that Gu Shan was drinking this liquor, she begged for a flask. At this time, Anna had returned to the church and was about to sleep in her room. But she couldn't fall asleep no matter what. To become stronger, I came to the strife zones of the 900 million world layers. To keep up with Gu Shan's footsteps, I worked hard every day to improve my skills and strength. The days in the war zone were tough and tough. During the intense battles, I was always the first to step up. During the torturous training, I also gritted my teeth and endured. No one worked harder than I did. Everyone thought of themselves as the most devout of believers, but no one knew what they were doing for. Persevere, persevere. Finally, all of my efforts were rewarded. Anna carefully put the flask of Baihua medicine away, then took out something else. It was a small black sealed flask. As she lightly shook it, she could hear a sigh coming from inside. The tear of death. This was the treasure I received during the church's Holy Relic Awakening ceremony. During yesterday's ceremony, a total of 8 members of the church received the chance to awaken their holy relic due to their outstanding performance. Before me, someone else awakened a new God's chosen skill that allowed them to transform into a blood-red bat, drawing everyone's attention. Following that, someone else received an ancient 7-shot revolver. After Hound Deity's examination, they confirmed that this revolver was the legendary gun, Dead Blooming Flower. Someone else received the Holy Church's secret skill, Void Flight Shadow. In other words, everyone received an unprecedented reward. Finally, when it was my turn, I only received this small black sealed flask. The 2 deities didn't say anything on the spot, only saying that this is a secret medicine that can increase the body's reaction speed. The others who also participated in the ceremony didn't pay much attention to it. I was also very disappointed. But when the ceremony was over and everyone left, Hound Deity and Black Crow Deity came together. They solemnly told me to use the item inside this black flask to the best of my ability. They said that this was an item of the death god from the age of old. In the past few 10,000 years, this item had never appeared before. Even they didn't know why this treasure suddenly appeared and chose Anna. Remembering the serious expressions of the two deities, Anna felt a bit proud. Seems like I'm quite lucky after all. For the past 24 hours, Anna has been using her soul flame to communicate with this black flask. And now the time has come. The black flask can finally be unsealed. With a gentle push, she opened the small black bottle. A drop of black water flew out from the flask, silently floating in the air. Following the two deities' instructions, Anna waved her hand. Materialize, she lightly shouted. A long-handled scythe of her own height appeared in her hand. The handle of the scythe was completely black. A black skull was carved at the end of the handle. The edge of the scythe was a burning, crescent-shaped flame. This was a weapon created from Anna's dark talent combined with her fire spirit. In previous battles, she had always used this weapon to fight. As if sensing the scythe in her hand, the drop of black water lightly moved. It fell onto the scythe and quickly disappeared. And then, nothing happened. Anna held the scythe in her hand, stunned. What? It can't be a fake. Why can't I feel anything? She muttered in a low voice. Boom! All of a sudden, the scythe shook. A thick black fog came from the scythe, quickly enveloping the entire blade. The red flame on the blade disappeared. What replaced it was a soundless burning black flame. Strange power flowed from the black flame, as if as soon as Anna attacked, this power would be unleashed. Many layers of mysterious black runes appeared on the long handle of the scythe. Then, the skull at the end of the long handle disappeared and was replaced by a black gem. At this point, the scythe gave off a sense of solemnity and coldness. The black fog didn't scatter. It drifted around the scythe, occasionally moving. Anna froze. This was the manifestation of his innate talent. Why did it suddenly change its appearance? She lightly swung the scythe. Wherever the black flame, soul blade passed, the void of space itself was torn apart. Chaotic, faint wind blew out from the crack in space, messing up Anna's hair. The space vortex? I didn't do anything. Why did it open up the space vortex? Anna was a bit confused. On another side, deep within the church, Hound deity had arrived here. He was staring at a large statue of a deity. On the hand of the statue of the god, there was a crow that was completely black. Black Crow, Hound deity, they were the servants of the god of death, the deities who spread slumber and death. They were in the middle of a secret conversation related to Anna. Did you get little Anna drunk? Black Crow asked. Yes. It wasn't easy to infuse her, but compared to other methods, this was the simplest and most effective, Hound deity said worriedly. What's the result of the divination? I just asked 9 lives. It said that the result has changed. Little Anna won't go to a bull, nor will she be taken away by the Demon King order. That's good. I don't want her to turn into an evil spirit. The church already has enough evil spirits. Hound deity sighed in relief. That's right. Little Anna is one of us. She shouldn't be taken away by the Demon King order. Black Crow agreed. The Demon King order. It's moving faster. What do we do? It's not the time to act yet. All the orders are hiding in the darkness. It's best for us to wait and see. Chapter 632. The wilderness was silent. The black horse galloped forward, heading into a dense forest at the end of the wilderness. After going through the ghost horde, their journey here was relatively safe. There weren't any ghost horde attacks in the forest, which was out of Gu Qing-shan's expectations. Finally, the black horse stopped in front of an old tree. So this is the Whispering Tree? Gu Qing-shan asked. Yes, old man Jiao replied. Gu Qing-shan got off the horse first, then carried Lola down. Lola stood on the ground, silently glancing at Gu Qing-shan. Gu Qing-shan put her on her shoulder. It was now that Lola smiled. Old man Jiao took off his turtle shell and stood in front of the Whispering Tree. He stroked the tree with both hands, silently feeling it for a bit, then couldn't help but cry out loud. Why? Why did you all die? Old man Jiao knelt down in front of the tree, leaning his head against the trunk, his body trembling. Lola wanted to say something, But Gu Shan gestured for her to keep quiet. Let him vent his emotions. That's good for him, Gu Shan said. Lola went silent. The two of them silently stood there for a while, until Old Man Jiao's cries slowly faded away. I'm sorry, I lost my composure, Old Man Jiao said. It's fine, I understand. It's so depressing. Old Man Jiao shook his head in despair. Besides Tidal City, all the other cities are cut off, cut off? What does that mean? As long as a single person is still alive in each city, the connection to the Whispering Tree will not be cut off. My condolences, Gu Shan sighed and muttered. It seems Origin's invasion was quite crazy. This lost world of the old gods was already heading towards destruction. Now, I need to establish contact with Tidal City, Old Man Jiao calmly said. He closed his eyes and put his hand on the Whispering Tree. Everything became silent. At a certain point, Old Man Jiao opened his eyes. He excitedly said, Old Jiao, you're still alive. That's great. That's right. Old Man Jiao's tone became gloomy. I'm the only one left alive. Damned apocalypse. Damned ghosts. He changed his tone and cursed. Old Jiao suddenly froze. All of you shut up. Let's listen to Old Jiao and see what he has to say. As he spoke, he gestured for everyone to be quiet. Old Jiao's tone becomes calm. I have two outsiders with me. They say they know Madame Hanyi. He suddenly turned to look at Gu Shan and Lola, sizing them up with a scrutinizing gaze. Are they the outsiders you're talking about? Yes, he answered himself. They saved me and helped me a great deal. Old Man Jiao stared at Gu Shan and Lola, nodding. They don't seem to be demonized, but we still need to verify their identities, of course, that's for sure. Please wait a moment. We'll invite Madame Han Yi right away. Saying so, Old Man Jiao became silent. Gu Shan and Lola exchanged glances. It seems he can share his body with others through this tree, Gu Shan mused. How miraculous! This is also the first time I've ever seen such a tree, Lola curiously observed Old Man Jiao and whispered. A few moments later, Old Man Jiao regained his composure. Madame Hanyi asked who you are, Old Man Jiao said. I am a certain adult bramblebird that hasn't received the St. Bramble Tree's coming-of-age ceremony. Tell her that, Lola said. Old Man Jiao nodded, then paused again. Gu Shan looked at Lola. Lola whispered into Gu Shan's ear. An adult bramblebird must receive the St. Bramble Tree's baptism, but it's too tall, I don't dare to go up. Then, as soon as Frost of Coal Night heard what you said just now, she would know it was you? That's right. In the entire bramble bird race, the only one who doesn't dare to climb the St. Bramble Tree is me. Lola lowered her head. Gu Shan rubbed her head and said, That's not your fault. Old Man Jiao suddenly spoke up again. Madame Hanyi wants you to prove your identity. She wants you to tell her oath. She should be protecting me, Lola replied. Old Man Jiao paused, then nodded. She's responsible for dealing with almost 100 entropy ghosts, so she can't leave by herself. But she knows an absolutely safe path that leads straight to the outskirts of Tidal City. She wants you to quickly come find her. Very well, tell her that we're on our way. Then it's settled. When you arrive, we'll send someone to pick you up. In addition, we have already informed Old Jiao of the direction of that route. He will lead you through that safe route. Got it. At this point, Gu Shan sensed a lot of inner sight leaving Old Man Jiao's body. Inner sight entering the body from a super long distance? How miraculous! Let's go, I've just found a secret path that leads straight to Tidal City. We'll be able to avoid any ghost attacks, Old Man Jiao said. Very well, we'll have to hurry. Saying so, Gu Shan suddenly looked up at the sky. Old Man Jiao and Lola both looked up, only to see that in the night sky, golden ripples were still forming. All of a sudden, a blinding light slowly spread across the sky, spreading in every direction. The entire night sky was slowly but surely turning golden. The golden light broke through the darkness, enveloping the sky and showering the earth. It was an incomparably magnificent scene. It was like a golden dawn. But then, strange things began to appear in the sky one after another. They were quickly flying towards the ground. Oh my God, my creator! Old Man Jiao looked up at the sky in despair. He fell to the ground with a thump, completely in despair. This magnificent sight meant that the entire old gods barrier had been fully activated. Many entropy ghosts appeared in the sky. "They're here." Gu Shan casually counted and found that she couldn't get an accurate number at all. There were as many entropy ghosts as there were carps in a river. They were going through the barrier to invade this lost world of the old gods. Didn't they say that these chaotic demon lords are rare? Gu Shan asked. They are. They've only appeared twice in the last 1,000 years, the Earth Sword confirmed it. Which means Origin is currently mobilizing all of its forces, Gu Shan muttered. He suddenly remembered something. Origin was invading this world in a frenzy, even giving him a way to survive, just so he could do a certain thing. You're only given a chance to survive because you need to help me think of a way to take over a certain place. Origin's cold voice was still echoing in his ears. Following that, the war god Ui's voice also appeared. It requires a few unique materials left behind by the old gods in the 900 million world layers. These materials can help all non-living beings evolve. When Origin evolves again, it will become World Apocalypse Online Revolution. At this point, Gu Shan's thoughts were quickly moving. So my guess was right. Origin wants to completely conquer this world to obtain the unique materials left behind by the old gods. It wants to become stronger. The situation isn't looking good. We need to move faster, Gu Shan said. He leapt onto the black horse's back, waved his hand, and lightly placed Old Man Jiao on top of the turtle shell from afar. Are you in a hurry, sir? The black horse asked. Full speed ahead, Gu Shan replied. The black horse turned into a blurred image as it galloped towards Tidal City. Time slowly passed. In the sky, the golden light was becoming brighter and brighter. Countless entropy ghosts were breaking through the barrier, pouring down like a torrential downpour. Lola sat in Gu Shan's lap, looking up at the sky. The entropy ghosts were coming very quickly. In just 1 minute, they would reach the ground from several tens of thousands of meters above ground. At that point, the entire world would be filled with entropy ghosts. No matter how powerful Gu Shan was, she wouldn't be able to win against such a large army of demon lords. Lola gritted her teeth. Gu Shan, the black horse, was galloping at full speed, so she couldn't help but shout in the howling wind. What? Gu Shan also shouted back. Are we going to die? Before we die, don't even think about dying, Lola pouted and started sobbing. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If we had flown a bit earlier, we might have already arrived. Fool. Everyone has something to be afraid of. It's not your fault, I'm a coward. No, you're just a bit afraid of heights, that's nothing. And you should believe in one thing, what is it? Gu Shan pointed forward. We won't die here. Lola turned her head to look. A city appeared in her sight. Different from the one she saw before, this city was built on top of a tall mountain, almost like a large military fortress. Tidal City. We're almost at Tidal City. Old Man Jiao. Gu Shan loudly called out. I'm here. What's the matter? Old Man Jiao replied. You might also need to join the battle after this, Gu Shan said. Old Man Jiao looked at Tidal City. On top of the towering and precipitous mountain, a fortress-like city stood tall and mighty. The army of ghosts had taken over the entire area outside the city. They densely covered the entire mountain, besieging the city with all their might. The war had reached its most intense moment. No problem. For the sake of the old gods, I'm willing to die here, Old Man Jiao angrily shouted. Very well, we're going to charge. Gu Shan held the reins tightly. 3 flying swords silently appeared around the black horse. They alternated between flying forward. Chapter 633. The golden light in the sky illuminated the entire world. Under the illumination of the ancient god's barrier, countless entropy ghosts descended from the sky. They quickly filled the entire world. At the same time, a black horse was galloping through the forest. It was like a bolt of black lightning. The black horse was extremely fast, so in just a few minutes, it had already left the forest and reached the plains. As far as the eye could see, a towering mountain stood at the end of the plains, reaching the sky. At the foot of the mountain, several giant ghosts were commanding the rest of the ghosts to gather, forming a battle formation. Tidal City was right on top of the mountain, and the ghosts were slowly advancing towards it. "There are too many ghosts. I can't get through. What do we do now?" the Black Horse asked while running. "Wait a moment," Gu Qingshan replied. He waved his hand, summoning the Earth Sword back into his hand. Gu Qingshan raised the Earth Sword and pointed it at the sky. Lightning manifested on the sword. The power of lightning dispelled the golden light from above, forming a blinding blue light. From afar, this ball of lightning was exceptionally dazzling, just like an obvious signal light. No response. Tidal City is not responding. Old Man Jiao loudly shouted. Did they not see it? Gu Qingshan muttered and abruptly circulated the power of lightning. Z. The lightning let out an ear-piercing noise as it turned into a pillar of blue and white light that shot straight to the sky. At this point, even a blind person would be able to sense the overwhelming power of lightning in the air. Finally, there was some movement in Seatide City. Gu Qingshan saw a figure wearing emerald armor flying into the sky. "It's her. It's Ilya," Lola joyfully exclaimed. "She finally sees us." Gu Qingshan also sighed in relief. The figure gave off layers of emerald light as she chanted an incantation that shook the world around them. "I, Ilya the Frost of the Cold Night, due to the Bramble Bird King's bloodline magic, I summon you, great Saint Bramble Tree. Please heed my call, guide my people to this place." Target, dash, the emerald figure suddenly stopped and spat up some blood. She staggered for a moment. From the looks of it, she seemed to be seriously injured. "Ilya!" Lola screamed. Gu Qingshan's heart sank. But in the end, the emerald green figure pointed in the direction of the Black Horse and shouted with all her might, "Hurry up and protect the last of our royal blood." After chanting the incantation, the green figure flew into Tidal City. At the same time, a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky. The shadow of a gigantic tree that connected heaven and earth slowly appeared. Between the hazy shadows of the trees, 7 or 8 spots of light gathered together. These light spots condensed into a meteor that pierced through space and time, flying toward the plane. At a certain moment, the bright meteor emitted a loud sound, and its speed suddenly increased. With that loud bang, the void around the meteor cracked layer by layer. Even the barrier of the gods cracked open, allowing the meteor to fall straight into this world. The barrier of the gods didn't stop it. Is it because it was summoned from within the world? Gu Qingshan muttered. "Yes, this is the call of the bramble birds," Lola said worriedly. The stronghold on top of the mountain was being surrounded by the ghosts. The situation was getting more and more dire, so it was hard to tell if Ilya would be able to hold on. "What? This is the call of the bramble birds?" Gu Qingshan asked in surprise. As you know, the bramble birds summon people from various worlds to take care of some miscellaneous matters for them. These are only external calls, Lola continued to explain. The true call of the bramble birds is actually a summoning spell. Indeed, the call of the bramble birds is actually a spell awakened by the bramble bird royal bloodline after they reach adulthood. The spell awakened by each royal member is different, but they are all collectively known as the call of the bramble birds. Ilya was granted the right to use the summoning spell by my father. That's why she was able to use my father's guard summoning spell, Bramble Bird Royal Bloodline, which means you can also use a similar bloodline spell? No, I can't. Why not? Because the Saint Tree is too tall. I can't perform the coming-of-age ceremony on top of it, Lola facepalmed. Only during the coming-of-age ceremony would the Saint Tree awaken the Bramble Bird's bloodline spell. Gu Qingshan stroked her head without saying anything else. He looked up at the sky. The meteor was flying across the sky, stopping right in front of the Black Horse's path. "Stop!" Gu Qingshan pulled the reins. The Black Horse also quickly stopped its charge. Boom! Dust flew everywhere. 10 fully armored warriors and 6 women in emerald green robes with staffs in their hands appeared. Gu Qingshan understood, transcending time and space to directly summon their companions from the mystic zones. So this was the true call of the Bramble Birds. This summoning spell was the previous Bramble Bird King's bloodline spell. Ilya only needed permission to summon 16 warriors. If the Bramble Bird King himself used the Bramble Bird's call, he would most likely be able to summon the entire kingdom's army. Unfortunately, the king had already been assassinated, and Lola didn't awaken a bloodline spell at all. Even if she did, it wouldn't be so coincidental that she would awaken the same bloodline spell as her father. She might have awakened a different kind of spell. Only these people? Can we summon more? He couldn't help but ask Lola. I can't. Ilya isn't a member of the royal family. This is the most I can do with the permission my father gave me, Lola answered as expected. Gu Qingshan looked at those people. The 10 warriors consisted of both men and women. All of them wore the same silver armor and wielded top-notch weapons. As soon as they appeared, they quickly spread out. They immediately entered a combat-ready state. The ghost army heading towards Tidal City had noticed the commotion here. 6 robed women walked in front of Lola and bowed in unison. Princess Lola, we've already communicated with the Saint Tree. It has agreed to specially prepare this super-distance warp for you, one of the women said. The 5 of them nodded and began to chant an incantation. Following their chant, a screen of light slowly manifested in the middle of them. Through the screen, they could faintly see a large tree branch covered in bright green leaves. From this screen alone, they could only see a single large tree branch. Not even 1% of the tree's body could be seen. Lola stared blankly at the tree and muttered, "Home." The robed woman urged her, "Your Highness, please return quickly. A battle is about to break out here." Lola glanced at her hometown on the screen of light, then looked around. The ghost army had sent out a torrent of steel, heading straight for her. The horde of ghosts was like a tsunami, carrying a killing intent that could cut through everything, kicking up a large amount of dust on the plains. They were quickly approaching. Lola took one step towards the screen of light, then suddenly turned around. "Gu Qingshan, come with me." The 6 mages followed her gaze and looked at Gu Qingshan. "I can't leave," Gu Qingshan said. "Why not?" "Because I have to fight." Lola froze. Saying it so casually, this guy. "Fight, that's right, why not fight?" Lola slowly nodded and stopped. "Then I won't leave," the robed woman hurriedly said. "Princess, this place is too dangerous. You can't take any risks. You are the last of the Bramble Bird royal family. Bloodline," Lola continued. "Indeed, I know this very well, so I can't leave," the robed woman exclaimed in shock. "Why not?" "Because someone killed my parents, and now she wants to take over this age of old world. Everything she's plotting is about to succeed. If I just go back with my tail between my legs and hide in the mystic zone, what kind of princess would I be? Since when did our Bramblebird race have such a bloodline?" Lola clenched her fists tightly. "I also want to fight." The robed women were terrified and knelt on the ground. "It's too dangerous, Princess. The Bramblebird race can't afford any more losses," Lola nodded and calmly replied. "The royal family was slaughtered. General Ilya's fate is unknown, and the culprit is about to obtain everything she wants. At a time like this, any retreat from me would represent the Bramble Bird royal family's retreat." Her voice was trembling, but she still insisted. "Mother once said, as a monarch, one should know when to retreat and when to fight to the death. As the princess, I will not retreat even half a step in front of the enemy. I will make Trieste pay with her own blood." The other women lowered their heads and didn't say anything else. The robed woman hurriedly said, "But the Demon Lord army has already gathered here. The only thing we can do is to bring you back. We can't even save General Ilya." Lola looked at Gu Qingshan, only to see Gu Qingshan smiling warmly at her. Gu Qingshan, Lola's eyes appeared to be begging him. "All right, I'll tell you. Something is happening outside," he said. "What do you mean? How do you know?" Lola and the robed woman both asked at the same time. "Because you told me that in a Bramble Bird world, as soon as other Bramble Birds act, they would be immediately noticed." Gu Qingshan glanced at the approaching horde of demons from afar and quickly explained, "I think Ilya also felt that there was no need to hide anymore and needed to save you right away. That's why she released the call of the Bramble Birds, and now, Trieste must have noticed Ilya's spell. With her strength, she should have already taken back this world and fully opened it. But even now, After so much time has passed, even the demons have run across half of the plains. Nothing has happened in this world. Because of that, someone or something important must have happened in the outside world, causing Trees to not dare to act rashly from this situation. I can feel that the outside world is changing. Changing in our favor, he muses. Fighting is not necessarily a bad idea. The 6 robed women and 10 soldiers all looked at him. They looked at the vast army of ghosts, then at the entropy ghosts that filled the sky, then at Gu Shan. Are we really going to fight? With just a few of us, we're going to fight against an army numbering in the millions? Lola walked up to Gu Shan and lightly held her hand. She looked up at him. Gu Shan, I am the empress of the bramble bird race, the only remaining member of the royal bloodline, the future queen of thorns. I beg of you, please take me with you into battle. Gu Shan looked down at her without saying anything. Lola bit her lip, trying her best to make her voice sound less shaky. Gu Shan, on the way here, you've always been like a mother to me, taking care of me. That's how I've come to understand you. I'm guessing that you're carrying a lot of things on your back. You're willing to disregard your own life and death. Even at the moment of the world's destruction, you still want to fight against the enemy. Gu Shan, I'm guessing that you're the same as me, having enemies that you don't care about at all costs, as well as pain and sorrow that you must face. Gu Shan, can you take me with you to win against them? As long as you take me with you to fight, even if I die in the end, I won't complain at all. After saying so, Lola silently waited, but didn't hear any response. Her heart slowly fell into an abyss. Lola lowered her head in dejection, whimpering, "Take me with you, to fight together, can't you?" Suddenly, the man in front of her moved. Lola suddenly looked up. Gu Shan knelt down on one knee. Chapter 634. A Bull Holiday Inn. The Royal Green Room. The Spirit of the Holy Tree. Lady Tethys was in thought. Just now on the platform, I found out the shocking truth. Unfortunately, time was too tight. I only had a few dozen seconds to talk to Lola. Lola really did tell me everything. I also found out the truth, but Lola didn't tell her where that world was hiding. Lady Tethys scowled. A big shot like her immediately realized the crux of the matter. I can't let Triest find her world first. Otherwise, Triest will directly open that world, and World's Apocalypse Online will descend upon a bull. But then, where exactly did Lola hide that world? What a headache. Without the ability to counter Fate Swap, I won't be able to go to that world, nor will I be able to ask Lola. No, I need to find that world right now. Lady Tethys glanced at the big rooster, only to see that he was dejectedly holding a bottle of liquor, gulping it down. Fine, he has a big mouth, and everything is written on his face. If Trees finds out, it'll only ruin things. I'll have to do this myself. Tethys stood up and paced back and forth in the green room. First of all, Lola is with Gu Shan. While I brought Gu Shan here, for his girlfriend's matter. From the start, Gu Shan was a person who came to ask for help. He's here to do something, so he probably wouldn't run around. Then, Gu Shan should be in the Royal Green Room. Wait a minute. Gu Shan was originally in the room, but she went to the other world with Lola. Lady Tethys stopped and silently observed the room. She lightly chanted, "Created by the gods, blessed by all things." An invisible water ripple spread out from her body and covered the entire private room. Silence for a second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. That's enough. Who can tell me? Did these two appear here? Lady Tethys opened her palm. The emerald green light condensed into the figures of Gu Shan and Lola, standing motionlessly on her hand. Yes, I have. A dull sound rang out. The sound came from the bottle in the big rooster's hand. The big rooster jumped in fright and hurriedly threw the bottle on the table. The bottle slammed against the table a few times before it stood up shakily. Wine Bottle panted and said, "I've seen that brat before. I have to say, he's a connoisseur when it comes to drinking." His gaze kept wandering between me and the other bottles of good wine. Yes, it's right. Exactly. I agree with it. In the ice bucket, a few bottles of chilled liquor jumped up and echoed. What about this girl? Have any of you seen her? Lady Tethys asked. Bottle replied. I'm not sure about that, because she always appears and disappears. I think my eyes are playing tricks on me. None of you have seen her? Lady Tethys asked. No, she's actually been here the entire time, sitting on me. One of the single sofas chimed in. Tethys glanced at the sofa. Inside the spacious private room, there were plenty of comfortable sofas everywhere, while the single sofa that spoke was placed in the corner of the room, the most inconspicuous spot in the entire room. Which means Lola has always been in this room. Lady Tethys asked. When did she leave? Did she go out with that brat? I only know that she was here. As for whether or not she left in the end, you'll have to ask the door, the single sofa replied. The door of the private room immediately joined in. No, I didn't leave this room. If they did, I would definitely know about it, Lady Tethys smiled. Very well, we're one step closer to the answer. Now, can someone tell me where they went? The voices in the room went silent. Lady Tethys waited for a while, but no one answered. She couldn't help but silently sigh. These pieces of furniture were all very ordinary objects without any life force, and there was no such thing as a spirit in them. Therefore, even if you were to cast a spell on them, they would still be very slow and sluggish. Is there really no way to find them? While Lady Tethys was thinking, she heard a faint sound of sobbing. She abruptly turned around, her gaze falling onto the 20-layer cake on the table. What's the matter? Did you feel wronged? Tethys softly asked. There was no way for this cake to be sentient, yet it was crying right now. This was already the limit of what a spell could do. I'm sad, the cake said. Why are you sad? Because both of them seem to be interested in me. I've even prepared the butter fragrance, but they didn't take a good look at me. Then what about them? They're hiding. While Tethys was listening, her expression changed. Trist is coming. Tethys waved her hand to dispel the spell, then quickly chanted another incantation. Spirit waves of all things vanish. Return to the realm of silence. This was a type of defensive concealment spell, capable of temporarily hiding the presence and fluctuations of all things. Even Tethys herself couldn't see through this spell to find out the secrets hidden within. Since Trist was about to come, this was the only thing she could do. In the blink of an eye, Trist appeared in the room. She had an expression of joy on her face as she muttered. So they were hiding here. Walking up to the table, she picked up the wine bottle, the fruits, the flower vase, and everything else to check. Nothing? Strange. I clearly sensed the bramble bird's call, guardian summon, appearing in my world, and the location was right here. Why did the spell's fluctuations disappear so quickly? Trist went silent for a bit. She checked everything on the table again, but still couldn't find anything. Tethys remained calm and collected. Her eyes followed her closely, and at the same time, her mind was quickly thinking. Where exactly are they hiding? Why did the spirit created by the cake cry? Unfortunately, I was so close to finding out the truth. Following that, under Tethys' watchful gaze, Trist checked every item in the room like a madwoman. She still couldn't find her own world. No, it's clearly here. If a bramble bird had activated a spell on my world, then the concealment spell that was attached to my world should have been broken. Why did I only sense it for a split second, but then lose the location of my world? Trist abruptly looked up at the spirit of the holy tree, Lady Tethys. Could it be? What are you looking for? Lady Tethys asked first. Trist replied, Perhaps you know what I'm looking for. Tethys smiled. Of course I know you're looking for Lola. You even asked me for help. I felt that she was right here just now. You felt wrong. We've been here the entire time, but we couldn't find anything. Is that so? This room is giving me a very strange feeling. Do you feel as well? I'm sorry, I didn't feel anything. They looked at each other, then looked away, constantly sizing up their surroundings. Lola and Gu Shan didn't leave this green room. Tethys was thinking. I clearly sensed the bramble bird's spell fluctuations from my world. It was in this green room, Trist thought. Their gazes met once again. Esteemed Lady Tethys, would you like to find a place to rest? There's no need. I've been resting quite well here. You, on the other hand, you have so many things to do. Don't you need to go take care of them? I also want to stay here for a bit to temporarily forget about those troublesome matters. As the two of them chatted, they both had the same thought. Chapter 635. Lady Tethys glanced back and forth. Then her gaze fell onto the 20-layer cake. A small corner of the edge of the cake was cut off. Someone actually cut a cake to eat in this green room? She was a bit surprised. Cake. She suddenly recalled the cake's words. These two people seem to be interested in me. I've even prepared the butter fragrance. But they don't want to taste me properly, they don't want to taste it properly, but are interested in the cake. Suddenly, Tethys had a thought. When she was about to touch the 20-layer cake, she didn't know that Trist had been paying attention to her. Trist slammed her hand on the table, breaking the cake into several pieces. A transparent crystal ball that gave off a faint light silently floated in the air. Come! Tethys's expression changed and shouted. Ah ha ha ha! This is my world, Tethys. Do you want to steal it? Trist laughed loudly. She chanted an incantation in a low voice. The crystal ball flew into her hand. Right after that, Trist quickly chanted an incantation, about to undo the world seal. Tethys screamed, "Stop her!" She began to chant a profound barrier spell at an extremely fast speed. Once the world seal is undone, a powerful barrier must be in place to delay the spread of World's Apocalypse online. But this can only delay it. Next to her, the man with a bright red mohawk suddenly disappeared without a trace. Trist had already expected this, so she stopped her incantation and breathed out a black glow. It was a black medallion that gave off a ferocious presence. True demon protection, she quickly chanted. The black medallion flashed and disappeared. Boom! The big rooster was enveloped by the black medallion and was sent flying, crashing through the outer walls, all the way out of a bowl and out of this world. Trist faced the crystal ball and chanted another incantation, World Dispel. Dash, shut up. A cold gun barrel was pressed against her head. An unfamiliar voice resounded by her ear. Trist shut her mouth. She could feel that if she chanted one more incantation, she would be killed on the spot. A series of mechanical noises. Another 7 to 8 gun barrels were pressed against her body. Trist didn't dare to move. She completely understood who it was that had come. In front of her, Tethys also sighed in relief when she saw the guns pointed at Trist. Reinforcements are finally here. Is it just you guys? Is he here yet? She asked. Boss is here, the guns answered in unison. The door of the green room opened. A machine gun jumped into the fray. Tethys, long time no see. As soon as I heard about you, I brought my men and rushed over from the White Elephant Mountains. Where is he? The machine gun asked. Ah, isn't Chick here too? He was blasted away by the Demon King's medallion. I don't know where he is now, Tethys replied. Don't worry, madam. The 900 million World Layers allied army has been assembled. A portion of them had gone to reinforce Barry and Bloodcloak Bali in Bloodsea? Bali in Bloodsea? Because the Demon Lord Nurturer has arrived, as well as more and more powerful true demons joining the battle. This is truly a grand spectacle. I'm starting to suspect that the final battle of the 900 million World Layers is about to begin. The situation was very bad. I was worried about the lady's safety, so I rushed to a brush first. Fortunately, you came in time, Tethys sighed. It's nothing. After all, we have to face such a terrifying enemy. Saying so, the machine gun aimed at Trist. Trist, you little brat, I suggest you sit down on the sofa and don't do anything rash. Otherwise, if I accidentally fire up, you won't even have a single hair left this time. Trist completely understood. It turned out that all his plans had been discovered by the other party. Against these renowned combatants of the 900 million World Layers, she didn't even have the ability to resist. Trist slowly walked to the sofa and sat down. Facing the muzzles of dozens of guns, she suddenly relaxed and smiled. Hand over your world, Tethys immediately ordered. Lady Tethys, the initiative is in my hands right now. Trist held the crystal ball in her hand. If you dare to do anything, I will kill you, the submachine gun said coldly. What does my life count for? If you want to fight, I'm willing to use my life in exchange for billions of worlds to be enveloped by the Demon King order. We won't kill you, as long as you hand over this dangerous world. Tethys softened her tone. Trist's smile became even wider, almost a bit deranged. Don't you get it? This world in my hands right now is the bomb that will decide the fate of millions of worlds. If you dare to try anything, I'll detonate it even if I have to die." Tethys and the submachine gun exchanged glances, both feeling the severity of the situation. At another location, Tree's Collection World, on the plains, Lola was quickly changing the equipment of the guards. "Hodge, your blade isn't good enough. This is the best standard military blade. Your Royal Highness. No, come. Use this epic Lord-class blade. Red Dragon Reaper catch." "Thank you, Princess. Novia, why are you still using this staff?" "I've always been using this staff. This is also a wondrous staff. Your Royal Highness, the decisive battle is about to begin. You can't be this casual." "Come, I have an epic staff here, Jadeite Forest Song of Life. Take it, Princess. This staff is too heavy, then change it." "Look at this staff, Phoenix's Nirvana, thin and light. Perfect for you. Thank you." Princess Gu Shan quickly walked forward and asked, "Did you manage to contact Ilya?" A robed woman replied, "We've just received General Ilya's message. The general is both sad and happy about the princess' decision. Tell her not to be sad. Quickly organize the army. As soon as we give the signal, they'll charge out of the city and meet up with us." The robed woman nodded, took out a bright green leaf, and began muttering in a low voice. In reality, she felt like she was going crazy. The army of ghosts filled the plains and mountains, numbering in the millions. "If we charge in, we won't even be able to break through the ghost army's formation. We'll be killed on the spot." And this person said that they want to meet up with Tidal City. Lola asked, "Gu Shan, why are you in such a hurry? Why don't we kill these incoming demons first before deciding what to do?" Gu Shan stared at the approaching ghost horseman, then looked afar. "Because the city is about to be breached," he replied. Everyone turned to look. Sure enough, while they've been paying attention to the approaching ghost army, they didn't notice that one of the walls of the fortress on top of the mountain had already been taken over by the ghosts. They've obtained the highest vantage point on the city wall and are currently attacking Tidal City. At this point, the bright green leaf in the robed woman's hand lit up. The robed woman closed her eyes for a bit, then hurriedly looked up and asked Gu Shan. "The general said that she's already organized the last group of people to leave the city and meet up with us. She asked what the signal is." Everyone turned to Gu Shan. He wanted to retaliate. He wanted to save that city. He said that he could bring Princess Lola to fight and find a way to win. It was now the final moment. The truth was about to prove whether or not this person was trying to deceive the princess, or if he really had another way. Gu Shan put Lola on his shoulder and lightly leapt onto the black horse's back. He loudly ordered everyone, "Prepare to move out. We're going to charge into Tidal City at once." The soldiers quickly checked their equipment and summoned their horses. When everyone was on their horses and ready themselves, the army of demons had also arrived. When they were about 1,000 meters away from Gu Shan's group, they stopped for a bit, recognized the situation, then abruptly sped up. Against a mere dozen enemies, they only needed a single charge to completely destroy them. It was now that Gu Shan told the robed woman, "Tell General Ilya to wait for the wind." Wait for the wind? The robed woman was still sitting on her horse, holding the green leaf in her hand, and was surprised. "That's right. When the wind reaches Tidal City, she'll be able to quickly move out and meet up with us," Gu Shan said and drew the earth sword. "Everyone move out," he loudly ordered. "Let's go." Lola clenched her fist and shouted at the same time. The black horse galloped forward, taking the lead and charging towards the endless stream of demon ghosts. "Protect the princess." The dozen Bramblebird guards gritted their teeth and followed the black horse forward. Although this all seemed inconceivable, the princess was riding on the black horse. The fact that they were chosen to take part in this rescue mission meant that their loyalty was unquestionable. Everyone was prepared to die in battle. Within the cloud of dust, the dozen riders were quickly approaching the army of demons. The ferocious faces of the demons slowly became clearer. Laura stared at the endless horde of demonic ghosts, and her heart finally began to feel apprehensive. She silently poked Gu Shan and asked, "What do we do now? It looks like we're really going to die in battle." "We won't," Gu Shan replied. With a single thought, the 3 flying swords appeared from the void of space. At the same time, lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the War God UI. Your power accumulation has reached 36x. You will be able to unleash a Tai sword array with 36x power at once. To unleash such a powerful attack, you will need to pay 100,000 soul points to fuel the sword array's power. Pay. Gu Qingshan resolutely said. Soul points have been prepared. You may begin to infuse your swords with soul points, the War God UI told her. Gu Qingshan smiled and used her inner sight to control the 3 flying swords. The 3 flying swords in the void of space immediately reacted. They all let out a loud, woo-woo noise, as if they couldn't wait to fight. Come, let us begin, Gu Qingshan muttered. Without a sound, the sword-infused wind suddenly moved. This is wind. Lola noticed it and was a bit confused, but her eyes lit up. She recalled Gu Qingshan's swordsmanship that destroyed an entire city. Just now, Gu Qingshan had told Ilya to wait for the wind signal. So that's what happened. So there really is hope. Lola couldn't contain her excitement anymore. She looked around, only to see that the guards around the Black Horse also appeared surprised. They also felt it. In the void of space, a strong gust of wind was flowing. It was an unimaginable, unstoppable, sword-infused wind. Lola held a scepter in her hand, stood up from Gu Qingshan's shoulder, and shouted at the guards around her. The wind has arrived. Everyone, follow me and Gu Qingshan. We're going to charge forward. For Her Highness. The guards loudly responded. The horse's speed gradually increased. Chapter 636. Gu Qingshan, Gu Qingshan, Gu Qingshan, Lola anxiously called out. What is it? Gu Qingshan finally replied. How do we arrange the battle? She looked at the guards around the Black Horse, and then at the army of demonic ghost cavalry that was sweeping towards them. Charge forward and kill them all, Gu Qingshan ordered. He took out a formation plate and arranged several dozen war formations at once. Layers upon layers of spirit essence rose from the formation plate, enveloping the entire charging army. Everyone, focus on defense, Gu Qingshan ordered. What about attacking? Someone couldn't help but ask. Gu Qingshan didn't answer. As the army and the ghost army approached, Gu Qingshan abruptly shouted, Formation, rise. As his voice resounded, from the back of the cavalry, above the vast plains, high up in the sky, within the boundless sea of clouds, a gust of wind could be heard. The Earth Sword, the Chao Yin Sword, the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword. The 3 swords had already reached the sea of clouds at some unknown point. They shuttled through the dense clouds, moving at a speed that surpassed the normal definition of speed. As they moved, the shadows of the swords froze in the air and quickly formed a special magic formation. 1 sword, 10 swords, 100 swords, 1,000 swords, 10,000 swords, 10,000 swords. A sword formation was being formed. At a certain point, all the sword images stopped at the same time, giving off a resounding noise. Tai sword formation. The formation was formed. Ho 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 ho, the wind blew away the clouds in the sky. The entire layer of clouds collapsed and disappeared without a trace. The sword formation, full of killing intent, replaced the layer of clouds and filled the sky. At a certain point, the sword images all moved at once. An invisible, sword-infused wind descended from the sky towards the plains below. The gentle wind blew across the land and quickly caught up to the Black Horse. The wind turned into a vast tidal wave that swept past the pitiful horsemen and headed straight for the ghost army. Without a sound, the wind spread into the army of ghosts. Boom! A storm suddenly erupted. On the plains, large swathes of the demonic ghost cavalry had disappeared, as if they had been wiped out of existence. Wherever the sword wind passed, no sound could be heard, only the destruction of all living things. The entire demonic ghost array was blown open by the strong winds, creating a wide passage. Gu Qingshan led a dozen riders and galloped forward along the path where the wind blew. Some of the demons tried to stop him, but they were turned to dust by the sword wind. Keep away from that wind, A gigantic ghost commander saw that the situation wasn't looking good and roared. The demon army immediately scattered to the sides. Yes, the range of the sword wind was very wide. However, the plains were vast and boundless. As long as they scattered in all directions and waited for the storm to blow over, there would definitely be quite a few demonic ghosts that could survive. At that time, it wouldn't be too late to chase and intercept those dozen or so people. This formed a strange scene. The entire demon army was fleeing in all directions, but the small group of a dozen or so riders were galloping freely through the flow of iron. The black horse charged forward, leading the 16 riders towards Sea-Tide City. Sitting on top of the horse, Gu Shan was staring at the soul points value that was continuously increasing on the war god UI. But at some point, the rate of soul points growth had slowed down. As Gu Shan looked around, she saw that all the demons were fleeing. "We're here. Sea-Tide City is right in front of us." Lola excitedly screamed, "That's right, Your Royal Highness." The guards responded loudly and happily. At first, they thought they'd die in battle, but it seems like that won't be necessary. Everyone was in high spirits. Their morale was greatly boosted. Only Gu Shan was looking at the fleeing demons with a bit of reluctance. "This is all soul points." Wait a minute. Gu Shan suddenly recalled something. He changed his War God title to Starflame War God. Equipment title, Starflame War God. You've obtained the unique skill, Conquer. When you use this skill, all enemies you choose will be forced to attack you due to a certain reason. Description. This skill is a mystic type skill, a causality skill, cannot be exempted. Description. To conquer or to be conquered, this is the question: should I give it a try? Without hesitation, Gu Shan immediately changed his title from Talented General to Starflame War God. As soon as he fixed the Starflame War God title, he immediately chose the entire ghost army and activated his title skill, Conquer. Abruptly, the situation on the battlefield changed. At some unknown point, the gigantic ghost commander noticed Gu Shan. It looked at Gu Shan, then at the gigantic sword array in the sky. In that split second, it sensed the same sword spirit from Gu Shan's body. It understood the truth. The ghost commander swung his gigantic blade, pointed it at Gu Shan and shouted, "Kill him, or the wind won't stop." The demonic ghosts immediately stopped in their tracks. Quite a few of their comrades had already died at Gu Shan's hands, so they could only flee in disarray. Against a mere dozen people, they were fleeing in disarray. The ghosts had been holding back their anger for a long time now. Now that they've received their commander's orders, they no longer had to suppress their bloodthirsty nature. Roar! The ghosts roared as they charged towards Gu Shan. They want to kill him. In a split second, the ghost army turned around and charged towards the surging sword-infused wind again. Even if they had to lose a few men, they still wanted to get through the sword-infused wind to kill that human. But how could they possibly stop the power of the 36X Tai sword array? The sword-infused wind was like a meat grinder, easily erasing the ghosts that were charging at them. Lola and the guards were stunned to see this. "I say, are the demonic ghosts stupid?" One of the guards whispered. "Not really. Maybe they want to kill him." Another guard doubtfully replied. The guards looked at Gu Shan, while Gu Shan was focused on her soul points value. As the ghost army was once again ravaged by the sword-infused wind, her soul points value continued to rise. That's right, Gu Shan was overjoyed, but the ghosts quickly couldn't take it anymore. They turned around and ran in every direction again. "Don't be ridiculous. This sword-infused wind is so powerful that they can't stop it. I'll leave it to the other ghosts to die." Gu Shan's eyebrows twitched as his soul points value slowed down. "That won't do. Activating the 36X Tai sword array costs 100,000 soul points. Wouldn't it be a huge loss if I don't earn it back?" He looked at the title, Starflame War God, on the War God UI, gritted his teeth, and activated his title skill again, Conquer. As soon as the skill was activated, the ghosts could sense it. They could sense that the sword-infused wind was about to dissipate. This technique is finally going to dissipate. The demonic ghosts were on the verge of crying, being chased around by this tyrannical, sword-infused wind. If they were even a step slower, they would be reduced to dust. This was truly frightening. Good, very good. This technique of yours is finally over. Then it's our turn to attack. Roar! The ghosts abruptly turned around and charged at Gu Qingshan's group again. No, they were charging straight at Gu Qingshan. They swore that they would tear that person apart alive. The 16 guards immediately became cautious and prepared for battle. Everyone noticed that the sword-infused wind seemed to have stopped. Then, the only thing left was to risk their lives. Prepare for battle, Lola loudly shouted. She then looked down and hurriedly asked, Gu Qingshan, have you used up all your sword-infused wind? Gu Qingshan was speechless as he looked at the approaching ghost army. Then he muttered, this is actually the sword array's encirclement. It's about to begin now. It's about to begin. Lola was stunned. She couldn't help but look up. There wasn't even a single cloud in the sky. The wind whistled sharply in the distant sky. And then, like a waterfall, the wind poured down from the sky. The sword-infused wind clashed with the approaching ghost army again. The sword-infused wind brushed past. The sword-infused wind brushed past. The sword-infused wind brushed past. Not a single battle formation was left. For the ghost army, this was nothing short of a tragedy. Amidst the screams and howls, the ghosts couldn't help but turn around. They changed their direction again and used all their strength to flee in a sorry state. But now that the sword-infused wind had surrounded them, how could they escape? One swipe kill. One swipe kill. One swipe kill. The soul points value on the War God UI was increasing by leaps and bounds. Gu Qingshan was silently feeling pleased. Oh no, Gu Qingshan, look. Lola hurriedly patted Gu Qingshan's shoulder and said. Gu Qingshan looked up. The end of the plains had arrived in front of them. Before they knew it, the dozen riders had already passed through the ghost army and were about to reach Tidal City. But Tidal City's situation was very bad. After a long and intense battle, one of Tidal City's walls had already collapsed. The demonic ghosts let out a deafening roar. They were charging into Tidal City. Lola panicked. Gu Qingshan, Ilya is heavily wounded. They might not be able to hold on. I can see it. Let's hurry up, Gu Qingshan, urged the horse. Indeed, without the city walls, Ilya wouldn't be able to hold on if the ghost army were charged straight in. The situation had become very serious. How do I quickly get out of this situation? Gu Qingshan silently looked at the city, his thoughts becoming clearer. A few moments later, he activated his title skill, Conquer, towards all the demons attacking the city. At the same time, a gigantic ghost appeared on top of the mountain. It spoke with a resounding voice. There's a troublesome one on the plains. He's the key to this war. Go and destroy him. All the demons froze at once. Roar! The demonic ghosts abandoned the city, gathered into a dense army, and charged down from the mountain. They were heading towards Gu Qingshan's direction. Quite a few ancient species had already appeared inside the city. They were covered in blood, ready to fight to the death and take the enemy down with them. But at the very last moment, the enemies all turned around and ran away. What exactly? The ancient species stood rooted to the spot, unable to figure out what was going on. The 16 guards on the plains were also shocked. They abandoned the city and turned to kill us. One of the guards couldn't help but ask. This is a type of tactic, surround the enemy and attack the reinforcements, another guard replied. No, you're all wrong. Perhaps the demonic ghosts have always longed to fight against a true powerhouse. Another guard said in a respectful tone. Gu Qingshan stared at the tidal wave of enemies and stayed silent for a bit. He never thought that Starflame War God's title skill Conquer could be used to such an extent. This was a method that could change the entire war. System, this Starflame War God title is a bit beyond my understanding, he silently muttered. Ting, the War God UI responded. Please pay special attention. The suffix of this title is War God. meaning that this is a war god exclusive skill. Chapter 637. The War God OS explained. The so-called causality skill surpasses the surface of all things, surpassing the limits of space and time. It directly uses cause and effect to change the origin of all things, changing the natural order of development and increasing the probability of a certain occurrence to achieve the desired result. Causality skill. So that's how it is, Gu Qing Shan muttered in a low voice. Now, do you understand the meaning of this skill? The War God OS continued to ask. I still don't, Gu Qing Shan answered honestly. In both his previous and current lives, it wasn't until he received the title Starflame War God that he heard of a causality skill. Slowly study it. After saying so, the War God OS ignored him. At this point, someone shouted from the group of guards. Look, the entropy ghosts are coming. Gu Qing Shan temporarily put down his question and looked up at the sky. The entropy ghosts that were descending from the sky were heading straight for his group of riders. Leave it to me, Gu Qing Shan spoke in a low voice. The lightning spiritual energy in his body moved and directly poured into the Tai sword array. In an instant, the Six Paths Great Mountain sword in the sky started to give off a faint glow of lightning. The sword-infused wind in the sky was infused with blue lightning. Lightning, the highest holy retribution of the old gods. Combined with the Six Paths Great Mountain sword's lawbreaker property, the power of lightning was greatly increased. The entropy ghosts were very sensitive. As soon as they sensed the presence of lightning, they immediately turned and ran. Don't be ridiculous. They weren't afraid of anything but this. The sky cleared up. Gu Qing Shan retracted his lightning energy, tapped his inventory bag, took out a high-quality spirit energy recovery pill, and swallowed it. Up ahead, the army of ghosts gave up on attacking the city and headed straight for the group of riders. Gu Qing Shan glanced at the sword array in the sky. Right now, the sword array's power had reached its peak. In about 12 breaths worth of time, the Tai sword array will completely dissipate. In other words, this battle must end within 12 breaths worth of time. Gu Qing Shan made up his mind. He put Lola on the black horse and shouted, Everyone, please protect the princess. Protect her royal highness. The guards responded loudly. They rode on their mounts and approached the black horse while galloping, protecting Lola tightly. Gu Qing Shan leapt off the horse's back and soared into the sky. He rode the sword wind, and with a thought, the divine technique was unleashed. Godly skill, ground shrink. Advanced, you can choose any location at will, or by locking onto the enemy's aura, use a special movement technique to break through the restrictions of space and directly appear at the corresponding location. Casting range, spiritual sense range. In the past, on the Demon Clouds River, the 100 Flowers Fairy had crossed the entire river to snatch the Heavenly Demon King's Heavenly Demon Jar and send him flying with a single punch. At this moment, Gu Qing Shan wrapped the sword chi in the sky and condensed it into a hurricane. She also activated this divine skill. He disappeared from the sky. Then, he suddenly appeared in the middle of the army of monsters and demons. The battle is not over yet. Gu Qing Shan stood in the center of the hurricane. Her eyes fell on the thousands of soldiers and horses as she murmured softly. Starflame War God, skill, Conquer, was activated once again. The ghosts and demons roared in unison and charged at him. In a split second, the hurricane howled, circled around Gu Qing Shan, then slowly dispersed. Erased, erased, erased. Gu Qing Shan continued to move forward in the hurricane. The thousands of ghosts and demons were also erased by the wind. He faced the demons head-on, 1 against 10,000. The demons were slowly being slaughtered. At the same time, Gu Qing Shan released a faint sword-infused wind towards Tidal City. The sword-infused wind moved without a sound. Tidal City could feel the presence of the wind. A bright green figure appeared on top of the city wall. The other party had used the wind as a signal, and after waiting for so long, the signal had finally arrived. The bright green figure stared closely at the battle on the plains. Ever since the bramble bird summoning technique was completed, she had been waiting for the wind to arrive. Everything that happened on the plains was seen by her. The demonic ghost army, which had once been full of arrogance, had now been battered by the wind and rain, leaving behind only a few scattered troops. Even these small groups of soldiers were fleeing in panic. The time has come. It's time for us to attack. Everyone, press forward. The bright green figure loudly ordered. Several dozen mountain-sized ancient creatures leapt out from the city, landing on the plains with a resounding crash. For the world of the old gods, the ancient monsters let out a roar. They charged into the fleeing ghost army and attacked with everything they had. The bright green figure lightly moved, leaping past the battle formation and headed towards the back of the plains. Behind the plains, over a dozen riders were escorting a black horse as they rushed forward. At this point, Gu Qingshan stopped. The wind also stopped. The Tai sword array had ended, and the entire battle was also coming to an end. The three flying swords descended from the sky and circled around him twice before disappearing into the void behind him one after another. Everything was just right. Gu Qingshan turned around and looked behind him. Frost of the Cold Night Ilya had already picked up Lola and was flying towards him. Both sides quickly met up. The ancient creatures had also defeated the fleeing monsters and were quickly approaching them. Everyone had finally gathered together. Ilya was a tall and slender female warrior, fully covered in a bright green armor. Her face was hidden behind a mask so that her face couldn't be seen. "For safety's sake, we're going back to Tidal City first," she shouted to Gu Qingshan. "All right, you go first. I'll be right there," Gu Qingshan replied. He turned his gaze towards the back of the plains. A few gigantic ghost commanders were on the other side of the plain, yelling and cursing loudly, trying to regroup the scattered ghost army. Once they regroup, coupled with the countless entropy ghosts descending from above, they would most likely attack Tidal City again. "Lola, let me borrow your horse." "Got it." Lola jumped down from the black horse and led it in front of Gu Qingshan. "Gu Qingshan, what are you doing?" Lola asked caringly. "Just a small matter. You go back to the city first. I'll be right there as soon as I'm done." Gu Qingshan smiled and stroked her head. Gu Qingshan got back on the horse. The black horse asked, "Are you in a hurry? Or do you want to fight?" Gu Qingshan pointed at the army of ghosts that were slowly gathering behind the plains and said, "Please begin the charge." The black horse galloped away, leaving a trail of dust in its wake. "What is he doing?" Ilya couldn't help but ask. "I'm not sure," Lola replied. Ilya didn't understand. That attack he used just now was unreasonably strong, and it didn't match his own strength at all. "I'm guessing that he must have paid a heavy price in exchange for a chance to use it. But why is he charging forward again now?" Everyone was also confused. Lola answered, "I don't know, but I trust him. Let's just wait for him here." Hearing that, Ilya gestured around her. The ancient species immediately spread out and guarded this area. "Your Majesty, your will has been carried out," Ilya spoke. Lola was surprised. Ilya silently smiled. "A country cannot be without a ruler for a single day." Lola slowly realized something. That's right. Father was killed by Tree's despicable means while he wasn't paying attention. Mother is also gone, and little brother. And now, I'm the only one left in the royal family. Myself, alone. An indescribable sense of sorrow filled her heart, filling her chest. Lola shook her head, unable to hold back her emotions anymore. Tears flowed down her face. "Lola, cheer up," Ilya sighed. "The princess is still too young. There's no telling if she can take on the heavy burden of the kingdom. But there's no other way now. I know, I'm just—" Lola's tears flowed down her cheeks, unable to control herself no matter what. Suddenly, her gaze passed through the plains. A black horse was galloping across the plains. The man was still complaining that it was too slow and loudly urged, "Go!" In his hand was a long sword. He was charging straight towards the army of demons on the other side of the plains. Lola blankly stared at him for a while. All of a sudden, memories flooded her mind. "I've gotten used to living like this, and being an orphan also has its benefits," he once said. "What benefits?" "When we die, We don't have to worry about too many people shedding tears. What kind of benefit is that? How is it not a benefit? When you see others grieve for you, you'll feel even sadder. But our advantage is that we can perfectly avoid such situations from now on. Is that a kind of advantage? Of course, Lola couldn't help but shake her head. Really, what kind of advantage is that? Furthermore, this guy is a single person. What gives him the confidence to charge straight at the army of demons like this? I've already used my sword array, so I can't win against him at all. Thinking about it, Lola slowly forgot about her sorrow. She pursed her lips, then retracted her gaze and nodded to Ilya. I'm ready. Despite her tears, she still spoke with determination. Ilya immediately knelt down on one knee in front of Lola. Following that, all the Bramblebird guards dismounted and knelt down around Lola. Lola, from now on, you're the true Bramblebird sovereign, Ilya muttered. Your Majesty. All the guards bowed and loudly greeted her. Lola looked at the soldiers around her, then at Ilya. Ilya took off her helmet and smiled encouragingly at her. Lola took a deep breath and tried her best to control her emotions. She glanced at the figure on top of the black horse one last time. She wiped away the tears that flowed down her face. Under the protection of several dozen ancient species, in front of the Bramblebird guards, Lola regained her calm. She sincerely declared, "From today onwards, I will no longer cry. I will lead my people to triumph over all enemies that stand in our way. I will protect my country, my land, my people, and everything else." Chapter 638. The black horse was galloping. Guqin Shan sat on the horse's back, observing the army of ghosts on the other side of the plains. 2 7-meter-tall ghosts were running back and forth, shouting orders as they tried their best to gather the retreating ghosts. They brandished their weapons and killed any demons that disobeyed them. Under such a strong deterrence, the ghosts slowly calmed down and began to follow their commander's orders. At this rate, as long as they had enough time, the ghost army would be able to regroup. Although the number of ghosts had greatly decreased compared to before, there were still over 100,000 of them in total. There was nothing Guqin Shan could do against such a large ghost army. If he dared to charge into the army of 100,000 ghosts by himself, the only outcome would be death. Unless he used the 36x Tai sword array again. But that's impossible. Guqin Shan thought for a bit and muttered in a low voice, "I can't let you guys regroup. That would be troublesome." He focused his mind. The Earth's sword appeared from the void of space. "Go," Guqin Shan ordered. The Earth's sword flew up and disappeared without a trace. A few moments later, a streak of light flew through the sky, quickly crashing into the ghost army on the other side of the plains. This was the Earth sword weighing 86,370,000 tons, falling down from over 10,000 miles in the air. Height, speed, and impact. With these 3 factors in mind, Guqin Shan didn't even consider using any sword styles. He simply controlled the Earth sword and used his inner sight to aim at one of the ghost commanders. Boom! The impact kicked up a huge cloud of dust. The entire plane trembled for a moment. The ghost army was now in shambles. A large circular crater was formed. That ghost commander was instantly killed by the Earth sword. Guqin Shan's gaze turned to the other ghost commander. The Earth sword flew out from the crater, flew through the void of space, and headed straight for the giant ghost. Go to hell. The demonic beast commander swung its weapon to block with all its might. With a resounding impact, the Earth sword's attack was stopped by the ghost commander. The ghost commander took a few steps back and sat on the ground. Its head flew into the sky, and blood rained down from the sky. The moment the 2 weapons clashed, another sword slashed across its back and took its life. Secret art, Swallow returns. The 2 demonic ghost commanders were dead. The horde of monsters was in chaos, and there were faint signs of instability. An entropy ghost descended from the sky and roared at all the ghosts. As an intelligent chaos demon lord, this entropy ghost took over the command of the army. Under its command, the ghosts gradually quieted down. TSK, a new question. Looks like you'll have to answer it too. Gu Shan turned around and said, "The six paths, great mountain," sword vibrated, flew past the black horse, and headed towards the ghost army. The flying sword flashed a few times on the plains, and, in the next instant, it had already arrived at the demonic ghost camp. The autumn water-like long sword exploded with layers of lightning, slashing towards the entropy ghost. The entropy ghost immediately ran away. It flew toward the sky. The flying sword turned around and turned into Shanu. She held the long sword in her hand and disappeared in an instant. Divine skill, ground shrink. Shanu turned around in the sky and swung her sword at the entropy ghost that had just flown away. Secret art, crescent slash. A huge moon-white sword projection with blue lightning on its surface slashed down from the sky. The entropy ghost didn't even have time to scream before it was destroyed on the spot. Seeing that, the other entropy ghosts quickly retreated. Don't be ridiculous. They could already sense the lawbreaker power on the divine sword from afar. Not to mention, there was also the support of lightning. This was a natural counter. There was no way to fight back. Seeing that, Gu Shan nodded in satisfaction. In just a few breaths' worth of time, the two commanders were killed, one entropy ghost was killed, and the rest of the entropy ghosts ran away. This time, the army of a few 100,000 ghosts didn't have a commander. "It's your turn now," he muttered to the sword behind him. The Chao-Yin's sword let out a joyful woo-woo sound and rushed forward impatiently. It flew towards the ghost army. A few moments later, the three flying swords gathered together. Gu Shan activated her hand seal. "Tai sword array, rise." The three flying swords circled around the army of a few 100,000 ghosts and began to form sword images. Layers upon layers of sword images were arranged in a unique pattern in the void of space. Some of the ghosts tried to attack the sword images, but their weapons simply went through them without causing any damage. The sword images were everywhere. The wind picked up. The sword-infused wind lightly blew. The ghosts sharply noticed the appearance of the sword-infused wind. On the battlefield, the several 100,000 ghosts all screamed in pain. "No way. You're using this again?" The wind created by this sword chi had already left a deep impression of fear in their hearts. They were scared witless by the 36-fold Tai sword array. Right at this moment, the sword-infused wind seemed to be about to rise again. The ghosts immediately acted. They didn't have the time to wait, and none of them were able to observe how powerful the sword-infused wind was this time. Because the only impression the sword-infused wind gave them was, if they reacted even a bit slower, they would die. The ghosts threw their weapons down without hesitation and scattered. They didn't care about anything else. Their lives were the most important. In the blink of an eye, the army that had just finished gathering quickly scattered into a pile of loose sand. This time, no one could stop the army from collapsing. The several 100,000 ghosts ran for their lives, dispersing towards the forest outside the plains. Gu Shan reined in his horse and stopped for a while. After the ghost army had fled and there wasn't a single ghost left on the plains, he dispelled the Tai sword array. Even an ordinary Tai sword formation would require a lot of spiritual energy. Since his goal had been achieved, he didn't want to waste any more spirit energy. After all, with his strength alone, even if he died from exhaustion, he wouldn't be able to kill more than a few 100,000 ghosts. How can a frightened bird form an army? Gu Shan sighed. He turned his horse around and returned to Sea-Tide City. After this round of intimidation, it would probably not be easy for the demonic ghosts to gather again. If they wanted to form an army of a certain size and attack Tidal City again, it would be even harder. Gu Shan urged his horse to return, quickly returning to Lola's side. Why didn't you enter the city?" Gu Shan asked in surprise. "You big liar. You're just trying to scare them," Lola replied. "This person is too cunning, being able to think of such a method to make the enemy retreat. If it's something that can be easily dealt with, there's no need to fight a war. It's too much work," Gu Shan replied. "What if those ghosts don't run and instead charge at us?" Lola couldn't help but ask. "If they don't run, I'll run. Either way, we'll think of something else when the time comes." Gu Shan casually replied. Are you sure you can do that? There's nothing to be afraid of as long as they're scared out of their wits. Gu Qing Shan stroked her head and put her on his shoulder out of habit. Chapter 639. Lola sat down comfortably on Gu Qing Shan's shoulder. There was silence all around. The guards exchanged glances. Ilya Frost of the Cold Night opened her eyes wide, watching this unbelievable scene. According to the timeline, this is what happened. Gu Qing Shan rode the black horse out. Lola swore to become a qualified ruler. Gu Qing Shan returned. After making her vow, Lola obediently sat back on his shoulder. The guards exchanged glances, seemingly trying to find an answer from each other's eyes. Is this not right? I feel like something isn't right, bastard. Of course it's not right. The great Bramble Bird King is sitting on that man's shoulder again. Lola soon noticed that the atmosphere was a little strange, especially the uncontrollable pressure Ilya was giving off. Lola casually introduced. Gu Qing Shan, this is our Bramble Bird General, Frost of the Cold Night. Ilya, this is Gu Qing Shan. He brought me away from Tree's pursuit, saving my life many times on the way here. This was a timely explanation as well as a clarification of the situation. Ilya could only nod. Thank you for saving our king, she thanked him. Ah, you're welcome. It's only natural, Gu Qing Shan hurriedly replied. The two of them exchanged pleasantries. The atmosphere calmed down. Ilya took a deep breath, about to say something, but seeing the nervousness and pleading in Lola's eyes, she sighed. Fine, Lola might be young, but she's always had her own ideas. Not to mention, from the moment they appeared on the plains, Lola has been sitting on his shoulder. Seems like Lola has accepted him. After losing all of her family, if there's someone who can give her warmth like a father, that would be a good thing for her growth. Moreover, in this battle, not to mention Lola, even his own life seemed to have been saved by her. When the city was breached, he drew away the ghost army that was attacking the city. But he wasn't that strong, right? How could he do this? No, there must be something fishy about this. He had to find a chance to ask Lola privately later. Putting aside Ilya's thoughts, everyone gathered together and set off for Tidal City. Late at night, in the sky, the golden light that lasted for a long time gradually faded. Now that all the entropy ghosts had entered this world, the old god's barrier was no longer affected and slowly returned to normal. Night fell. There was no sound coming from the city. There were too few people who could survive the fierce attack of the ghost army. Even those god seeds that could transform into ancient life forms, there were only 20 or so left. They were split into two groups. One group brought Jiao to the temple in the center of the city, while the other went outside the city to repair the damaged walls. Everyone was mobilized to repair the city's defensive measures. Frost of the Cold Night, Ilya brought Lola to find a place to rest. She wanted to have a good chat with Lola. Gu Qing Shan wandered around the city by himself. He won the entire war by himself, so no one dared to order him around right now. After a while, Gu Qing Shan decided to ask one of the divine seeds about something. What was old Jiao brought to do? Gu Qing Shan asked. To accept the trial of our tribe's heirloom, the divine seed answered. Since he was able to resolve the demon's siege, the divine seed answered every single question. Trial. Gu Qing Shan was surprised. That's right, those ghosts and demon eyes, their target was our tribe's treasure, the old god's heirloom. How do you know that's what they want? They've sent envoys here a few times, but we refused to trade our tribe's heirloom to them. So they started a war. Hearing that, Gu Qing Shan immediately understood how important this was. Origin had been attacking this world in a frenzy to find something that could help it evolve. It was a unique material left behind by the old gods in the 900 million world layers, capable of helping all non-living things evolve. The divine seed sighed. In truth, our tribe has been worshipping the old god's heirloom for countless years, never once thinking of taking it for ourselves. But now that the situation is so dire, we have to try and accept its trial to see who can obtain it and trigger the power of the old gods to help us protect our homeland. Wait a minute. You told old Jiao to accept the heirloom's trial, which means none of you passed it? How shameful. The old god's trial is too hard, and everyone faces a different trial. That's why none of us have passed it until now. I see that there are quite a few of you here. Among our tribe, only divine seeds are qualified to accept the heirloom's trial. Normal tribe members can't accept it, nor can they use the method left behind by the old gods to fuse with this heirloom, so that's how it is no wonder old Jiao left in such a hurry. If he can obtain that heirloom and become stronger, origin, Escol would have been for naught. Old Jiao is the key to this. But the trial left behind by the old gods seems to be very hard. None of these divine seeds managed to pass it and obtain that heirloom. I can only hope that old Jiao can succeed. If old Jiao also fails, what do you intend to do with that heirloom? Gu Qing Shan hurriedly asked. The tribe of the old gods are the children of the old gods. We definitely won't sell the heirloom of the old gods. We will fight until the very last moment, then destroy it. Well done. Gu Qing Shan praised. If it comes down to the point of destruction, even if they have to destroy the heirloom, they won't give it to the enemy. The tribe of the old gods sure have guts. If that's the case, there won't be any problems. Gu Qing Shan slowly calmed down. At this point, a female voice came from behind him. Mr. Gu Qing Shan. As Gu Qing Shan turned around, he saw that it was Ilya. Where's Lola? He asked. Her Majesty the Empress is currently equipping everyone, Ilya replied. Ah, Mr. Gu Qing Shan, although the ghosts have retreated, I still have a bad feeling about it. I'm going to take a look. Would you be willing to come with me to see what they're up to? No problem. Gu Qing Shan immediately agreed. To be honest, he also had a bad feeling about it. However, you don't seem to be in a good position to investigate the military. You should be resting instead. Gu Qing Shan observed her and said. There were quite a few wounds on Ilya's body. Although the bleeding had stopped, the wounds were quite deep. If she ran into an intense battle, she wouldn't be able to exert her full strength. It's fine. These wounds are nothing. Ilya forced a smile and said. Gu Qing Shan went silent. He suddenly tapped his inventory bag and took out a pill, tossing it to her. What is this? Ilya caught the pill and asked. A special pill to heal external wounds, Gu Qing Shan replied. Ilya put it under her nose and sniffed it, then slowly smiled. The 6 arts of the cultivation world are quite famous, even among the billions of worlds, especially formations and pills. I've always admired them, saying so. Ilya popped the pill in his mouth, chewed a bit, and swallowed it. As Gu Qing Shan watched the other party swallow the pill, he couldn't help but feel that this scene was very familiar. He suddenly tapped his head. Ah, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. Although this pill has an instant effect on external wounds, it also has a cleansing effect on the body. Cleansing the body? Ilya's expression slowly changed. A few moments later, she scowled and put her hand on her stomach. That's right, this feeling is, excuse me. She coldly left those words and disappeared without a trace. Gu Qing Shan stood still for a bit. She's heavily wounded, so she must have been in as much pain as old man Jiao did when dealing with that problem. SSSSS. Gu Qing Shan gasped, not daring to think any further. Will she come and hit me? Fine, fine. I'll have to think about it more from now on. Even if she's doing it out of goodwill, I still need to do it properly. Then what should I do now? Gu Qing Shan looked around. That divine seed had already climbed up the wall, turning into a monster the size of a hill to help repair the wall. There was no one around. Then I'll wait for her. Wait for her. Chapter 640. Gu Qing Shan was a bit nervous. Ilya was the famous bramble bird general for many years. Her strength was unparalleled. However, there were too many entropy ghosts surrounding Tidal City, and the ghost army numbered in the millions, so she was wounded while defending the city. If she really wants to beat me up, I can only use my divine skill to escape. Having made up her mind, Gu Qing Shan stood still and waited. A few moments later, Ilya appeared again. Your pill was a great thing. My wounds have healed a lot, she praised him. Gu Qing Shan nodded in agreement. Indeed, in the cultivation world, individual strength wasn't that great. Especially after seeing the combatants of the 900 million world layers. Gu Qing Shan understood this very well. But the reason why the cultivation world was able to last for 10 years under the frenzied attacks of the demons was because of the 6 arts: divination, formations, pills, smithing, talismans, cooking. The power of civilization was gathered here. They were created by humanity and became the foundation for humanity to move forward. We can go now to see what the ghost army is up to, Ilias said. Yes, that's what I was thinking as well, Gu Qingshan replied. But he didn't leave right away and instead summoned a sword. The 6 paths, great mountain sword. The glittering sword circled once in the air before turning back into Shanu. Gongzi, is there something you need from me? Shanu asked. If the entropy ghosts attack and the others can't stop them, you can stay here and watch over Lola. Understood. If anything happens, you have to contact me with your inner sight right away. I'll allow you to use all of my skills. Understood. I'll be careful, Shanu replied. Gu Qingshan finally calmed down a bit. The flying sword and its owner have a connection through inner sight, so even if something happens, Shanu would be able to temporarily take care of it for me. And with a divine skill like ground shrink, Gu Qingshan would be able to return very quickly if he wanted to. When Ilya saw how meticulous he was, she secretly nodded her head. All right, let's go, Gu Qingshan said. All right, Ilya said. The 2 of them flew over the city wall one after the other, heading in the direction where the demonic ghosts retreated. Gu Qingshan pondered for a moment and decided not to take out the flying boat. Ilya didn't summon any mounts because she was investigating the situation and had to pay attention to concealment at all times. Under the cover of the night, the 2 of them flew close to the ground of the plains. They only slowed down when they reached the edge of the plain. This was where the demonic ghosts gathered and were then driven away by Gu Qingshan. The ground was littered with all sorts of messy marks. What do you think they will do next? Ilya asked. I'm not sure. I haven't had much contact with demonic ghosts, so I don't understand them. Gu Qingshan answered honestly. As a special type of chaos demon lord, entropy ghosts have the ability to pierce through everything. After entering this world, they can split themselves into hundreds and thousands of Huang, Quan demonic ghosts, or use summoning techniques to summon demonic ghosts from the outside world. This was the first time Gu Qingshan had ever seen such a unique monster with such a unique ability. Ilya sighed and said, This is also the first time I've seen so many samsara demons. It seems we need to find them to figure out their next move. She took out a pair of long daggers that gave off frigid cold mist from behind her back. Gu Qingshan also grabbed the Chao Yin sword from the void of space. Ilya stared closely at the Chao Yin sword. Lola said that you have 3 legendary grade swords. She's always wanted them. According to the Mystic Zone's classification of artifacts, they were divided into 4 ranks: wondrous, epic, legendary, and divine. Wondrous artifacts are only decent in the eyes of the bramblebirds, but in other worlds, they're already top-notch magical artifacts. An epic item was a treasure that everyone yearned for no matter what world they were in. But the Earth Sword, Chao Yin's sword, and 6 Paths' Great Mountain Sword were judged by Lola to be legendary grade. That's why whenever Gu Qingshan took out a sword to use, Lola would always stare at it with drool dripping from her mouth. Ah, that's right. She even wanted to give me something else in exchange. But these 3 swords are my livelihood. I can't give them to her, Gu Qingshan smiled and said. Then you need to be careful. These swords are very easy to attract greedy people, Ilya warned her. I understand. Ilya's tone changed and said, Next, we'll have to infiltrate the enemy's camp, but since neither of us knows how strong the other is, it'll be hard for us to cooperate. What do you mean? How about we spar a bit? That way we can get to know each other better, Ilya suggested. Gu Qingshan looked at her in surprise, her mind quickly turning. Ilya was the Bramble Bird Kingdom's General of War, one of the 2 strongest people in the Bramble Bird Kingdom along with Trieste. With her strength, she could be considered a decent expert, even among the worlds. But now, she wants to spar with me. It seemed like that pill had taken effect. How could I possibly win against you? Gu Qingshan smiled bitterly and continued. We're here to scout the enemy situation. Let's talk about sparring later, just a bit. Don't worry, we'll only exchange 10 strikes. After that, I'll stop. Ilya looked at Gu Qingshan and continued. Don't worry, I'll suppress my strength to around the same level as you. Saying so, her presence slowly retracted until her power fluctuation was about the same as Gu Qingshan's. Gu Qingshan sighed. Seems like I have no choice but to fight. He thought for a bit and said, if you suppress your strength to around the same level as me, there might be a bit of a problem. What problem? Do you want me to suppress my strength even lower? Ilya glared at him and asked. That won't be necessary. I just feel like you'll be at a disadvantage, Gu Qingshan replied. Ilya looked at him and slowly smiled. Say that again if you can take 10 strikes from me. As soon as she said so, she swung her daggers and charged forward. The daggers were nimble and unpredictable, almost as if they could pierce a hole through Gu Qingshan's body at any moment. Miraculously, when Ilya swung her daggers, her entire body seemed to have entered some sort of mystical rhythm. Her movements became difficult to determine direction and difficult to determine speed. Gu Qingshan praised her, feeling like her vision had been broadened. Using techniques to conceal her movements, then using her movements to launch attacks, this was a perfect fit for a dagger's offensive characteristics, as well as the assassin's slyness. Even though Ilya had restrained her own strength, it was still not enough. Her fighting skills and experience hadn't been reduced at all. Gu Qingshan decided to take a few steps back and carefully observed. Ilya didn't use any special techniques or spells, only using her daggers to attack, without any killing intent. Seems like she still knows her limits. Gu Qingshan couldn't really use any secret arts or other special sword styles. Seeing him continuously retreating, Ilya couldn't help but stop and spoke in dissatisfaction. Do you only know how to retreat? I've already suppressed my strength, yet you don't even dare to spar? Gu Qingshan smiled and stepped forward with her sword in hand. In a split second, the sword and dagger clashed, neither side giving way to the other, leaving behind indistinguishable afterimages. Clang, 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 clang. In the blink of an eye, 10 strikes had passed. The sword pressed against the daggers and shook. Ilya was pushed back along with her daggers, retreating 7 to 8 steps before regaining her balance. She looked at Gu Qingshan in surprise. Seems like you're quite skilled. How many strikes did he find out my weakness? Could be the 10th strike? No, I need to confirm it again. Ilya made up her mind and abruptly increased her presence. Gu Qingshan immediately sensed it. The power she was exuding had far surpassed Sainted Realm. Looking back at Ilya, she saw that she was eager to spar. That's right, normal battles are all about life and death. Who would suppress their cultivation just to spar with their swords? This is a good chance to learn from her. Thinking that, Gu Qingshan swung her sword. Again. Ilya disappeared and reappeared behind Gu Qingshan. She wielded her dagger, drawing a cold gleam of light. Clang! Gu Qingshan blocked it with her sword and moved away. Trying to run? Ilya smirked and chased after her. The two of them moved back and forth in a confined space. Occasionally the sound of weapons clashing could be heard. After 30 strikes, Gu Qingshan's sword once again pressed against her dagger and pushed. Chapter 641. Ilya was knocked back, somersaulted in the air, and landed on the ground. Your swordsmanship isn't bad. Seems like you've put in a lot of effort, Ilya commented. The two daggers danced and danced between her fingers like butterflies. You flatter me, Gu Qingshan replied. I'm going to be a bit more serious from now on. I might not be able to hold back. You have to be careful. While saying so, Ilya slowly walked towards Gu Qingshan. The two daggers leapt up and were lightly held in her hands. Dozens of afterimages appeared in the void of space around the daggers, making it impossible to tell where they were coming from. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but feel a bit tempted. It was a rare opportunity for such an assassin-type expert to suppress his realm and spar with him in terms of moves. Gu Qingshan took a step forward. Please, he said. Understanding what he meant, Ilya smiled. Her figure twisted like a ghost as she moved forward. Her twin daggers emitted layers of sharp light. Gu Qingshan thrust her sword forward. The two daggers blocked the sword, giving off a screeching noise. Ilya had used her daggers to block the sword. In that split second, she spat out a small dagger and aimed it at Gu Qingshan's throat. Ting! The earth sword appeared out of nowhere and knocked the dagger away. Seeing the sword knocking the dagger away and coming for her again, Ilya immediately retreated. Gu Qingshan held the earth sword in her hand. Both swords in hand. Again, he invited. 2 swords? It's not easy to use 2 swords at the same time. Ilya evaluated the earth sword. Gu Qingshan replied, although this sword has the ability to carry heavy force, it's connected to my mind, so it's easy to use. Very well. Ilya shook her head as her presence increased again. As she became stronger, both her speed and strength, as well as the power of her daggers, were greatly increased. Without saying a word, she brandished her dagger and rushed forward again. This time, the two of them exchanged more than 100 dazzling blows. Gu Qingshan saw an opening and suddenly thrust her sword. This strike was aimed at a place where Ilya couldn't avoid, so she could only block it with her dagger. With a shake of the sword, Ilya was sent flying. Not bad. Ilya nodded. With this level of swordsmanship, it made sense that he could protect Lola all the way. One had to know that swordsmanship was not something that could be achieved just by practicing it. A master swordsman must have a sharp mind and quick thinking. This was because a sword was a weapon like this. If one wanted to unleash the power of a sword, only such a person could do it. Gu Qingshan sheathed her sword and said, "You can stop now. Not fighting anymore?" Gu Qingshan smiled bitterly. "If you increase your strength again, I really won't be able to fight with only my swordsmanship. Our battle will cause a lot of commotion. The ghost will definitely notice." Ilya nodded and sheathed her dagger. Within the cultivation civilization, there is a type of cultivator who specializes in swordsmanship, called a sword cultivator. "You are a sword cultivator, correct?" she asked. Gu Qingshan silently nodded. "I heard from Lola that you came from a scattered world, but from what I can see, your swordsmanship is grand and imposing. Each of your attacks contains deep meaning. It doesn't seem like something someone who hasn't seen the world would be able to do." While thinking, she commented, "I can feel that your swordsmanship is restricted by your realm, unable to fully exert its power from how you fought against the ghosts. I can see that you can control flying swords. So you must have reached the realm of sword cultivator, the realm of sword saint. Just now I was roughly twice as strong as you, but you were still able to win against me. Although you only used your swordsmanship to do so, it was still very shocking with your talents and temperament. If you can continue to advance like this, you might be able to surpass Sword Saint in a few hundred years and take another step forward. If that's the case, Lola being acquainted with someone like you isn't a bad thing after all." She showed a friendly expression on her face and finally said that. So this was a reason why she wanted to test Gu Qingshan's strength. What she didn't know was that Gu Qingshan herself was an excellent sword cultivator. Not to mention that she had gone through reincarnation and received guidance from the 100 Flowers Fairy in the way of the sword. In the entire cultivation world, the 100 Flowers Fairy was a top-notch figure. If it weren't for the laws of the cultivation world restraining her from breaking through, who knows what realm she would have reached already. In the past, the 100 Flowers Fairy herself had declared that Gu Qingshan would definitely become a sword saint. After leaving the cultivation world, Gu Qingshan had to overcome all obstacles, going through the baptism of battle, then fully accepting the Azura King's battle techniques during the Battle of Huangquan. Because of that, Gu Qingshan's vision, skills, and experience had all been raised to an unprecedented level. If it weren't for the restriction of his cultivation realm, his swordsmanship would have already surpassed the majority of his peers. Hearing Ilya's judgment, Gu Qingshan didn't have time to be humble. From her words, he caught a certain crucial possibility. Gu Qingshan's expression became serious, clasped his fist, and asked, "Just now, you said that I've surpassed Sword Saint and taken another step forward?" Ilya nodded. "May I ask, what is the realm above Sword Saint?" Gu Qingshan asked. "It's still too early for you to ask that." Ilya shook his head. "What I can tell you is that you're currently limited by your own realm, unable to fully unleash the power of your flying swords. Wait until one day when you can use your flying swords at 200% power, able to wield them freely. Only then will your swordsmanship be able to reach a higher realm, Indeed, the so-called retracting and releasing them freely. Only when you can fully unleash the power of your flying swords will you be able to consider how to retract their power. Retract? Why would I need to retract it? Gu Qingshan was surprised. Ilias slowly spoke. Let me ask you, was the wind sword array that you used to kill the ghost army strong? Indeed, that was my strongest sword array, Gu Qingshan replied. Think about it. If you were to retract this sword array and condense it into a single strike, what kind of effect would it have? Gu Qingshan was stunned. He had never heard of such a statement or viewpoint before. After becoming a sword saint, no one had been able to teach him anything. He had always been the one to figure it out himself. But now, someone was standing on the sidelines and proposed a certain idea for his swordsmanship. A Tai sword array with 36 times the power, condensed into a single strike? Gu Qingshan fell into thought for a bit. Then his expression slowly changed. If that's the case, my single strike would be unstoppable, Gu Qingshan muttered. Indeed, retracting is harder than releasing. Once you can retract and release them freely, that's when your swordsmanship will reach grand perfection and leave the realm of Sword Saint. Ilias said. Hearing that, Gu Qingshan felt like he had been enlightened. He sincerely clasped his fist. Thank you for your guidance. I will remember your grace. No need to thank me. After all, you saved Lola, which is the same as saving our Bramblebird Kingdom. Just consider my words of thanks, not to mention, this wasn't something I said, but a sword user friend of mine from 1,000 years ago, if I may ask that friend of yours. He is in the Strife Zones, a place where countless races compete for supremacy. There are as many combatants of various professions as there are carps in a river. In the past, Bali and Meow also came from there, eventually becoming Lord-class combatants. If you have time, you can go there to fight and cultivate. It will be very beneficial for you, Ilias said in the end. Now that she had acknowledged him, she might as well think for his sake and explain things clearly. I understand that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.